Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. I'm the guy behind the microphone, and I'll tell you, there's no place that I would rather be on a night when Varla Ventura is here with us. And I'll tell you, her teeth are looking magnificent tonight. Magnificent. As we get ready for roll call here, race fan in the gold medal position. Davey Crotch Kick with a rare silver. Mennonite Abe bringing home the bronze medal tonight. How are you, Mennonite Abe? The gorgeous Cosmic Floor is here, and so is Mama Susan. Awesome Ann Palmer. There she is. And Michael, the Smithy Smith, has returned. Alexander, how are you? Alexander, by the way, will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind. To the left of the studio. Moving on, they have a Minute of Decay. Welcome to our chat room for the first time. Grand Paul Holland in Australia. And Simon Wales, how are you? Good to see you. As we continue with our roll call, the gorgeous Tina Smith. Anonymous Rex is here. Todd Purdon. The lovely and talented Arlene Adkins-Zell has returned. She likes her hyphen. She'll be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right. Downshift, Goober Bear, good to see you guys. Double Tim, nice to have you here. Logan L., the gorgeous Becky Belling has returned. There she is, everyone. Give her a clap. Mondak, Dirty Filth, good to have you both here. Blue Chicken, Poulet de Blue, I thought you were allergic to this show. It's good to have you back. Thank you for coming on in. Lee Poping, nice to have you here. Flippity, good to see you. As we continue on here on Space Out Radio, my favorite name in the chat room, Xochitl Paez. The gorgeous and talented Xochitl Paez. Love it. Love her name. All right, here we go. There's Eddie Haskell. And who else do we have here? Spooky Morales. There he is, live from San Diego. Good to have you here, buddy. All right, let's scroll on down. Oh, hey, Clam. Luscious Jules, nice to see you. And who else do we have? The gorgeous Jenny has returned. Ozzy, oi, oi to you, my friend. Randy Spurl, it's been a while. How you doing, buddy? Good to have you here. Thank you for joining us. Our man, Millennium, he is here literally every single night. And when we are not here, he is still here. He is that dedicated. We love you. Absolutely, man. All right, Chris Mo from Austria, good to see you. The gorgeous Helena, Peppa H, nice to have you back. Big Willie and his beard, manly-sized beard. There he is. Deanna, the gorgeous vlogs and more. Raven Rose, welcome, and you're looking lovely tonight. Thank you for joining us. Sensational Sherry, nice to see you. Ghost 66, boo. Bassmaster, where you been hiding? Good to have you back. Carfunibre, what's happening, buddy? Nice to have you here. The gorgeous and talented Kira has returned. And Ian Herndon, welcome back to the show, buddy. Good to see you. And who else do we have here? Oh, there's Uncle Dale and his Power Stash. Remember, if you see Uncle Dale in Austin, Texas, rub his Power Stash for all the best luck and all the biggest prizes on Black Friday. And trust me, America, I want to see brawling. I want to see tape on the knuckles, scratching, kicking, biting, punching, peeing on someone's shoes. I want to see it. Get those videos ready. Turn your cameras sideways so I get a better view on Black Friday if you do not mind. Come on, America. You disappointed me last year. Do not do it this year. Mr. Lurks-a-lot, good to see you. And who else do we have? Chad Smith is here, everyone. The Chad Smith. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio, a channel you need to subscribe to. John Blair, good to see you, buddy. Thanks for coming on in. Grandmaster Gong Show, what is happening, brother? Good to see you. I hope you are high as a kite tonight. And let's see, where else can we go? Oh, well, I don't know. We're done. We're done. That's it. All right, Super Chat is open. It's a great way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So let's fire that thing up. If you're new here, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Ring the bell as well. And, yeah, let's have some fun. Mr. Ian, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you. We got 5 seconds. Oh, I better start the radio side. There we go. Almost missed it. Rock and roll. Horns up. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by the Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. I'll tell you, I get so excited each and every month when Varla Ventura arrives on our show. You know, it's so often that we have Varla on, I don't even need to write an intro for her anymore because she is awesome. If you have never heard her before, I call her the queen of the cryptid world. She's into the darkness. She's into the enlightenment. She is into anything that goes boo in the night. She is one of the best authors, published authors, when it comes to anything dark in the cryptid world. You can find all of her books at any major bookstore. Her website, varlaventura.net. And you know what? She brushes and flosses twice daily, people. Twice daily. Varla, it's always a pleasure to have you on Spaced Out Radio. How are you?
Oh, thank you. I'm great. Happy to be here. Always love the intro.
I know. I did it fine tonight. You know,
did great.
And by the way, you go to Varla's website, you get one of these really cool hats, the double V that I am wearing tonight, varlaventura.net. We'll pump that up. You know, I was having a conversation with Ben from UFO Garage today, and Ben does our website, and he's like, you know, we need to brand you, man. I'm like, what do you mean you need to brand us? I said, you know, because I don't move. I don't need a branding. You know, and he's like, no, not that kind, man. So we're looking for ideas and everything. And we kind of bounce it off each other, you know, because like everybody has this real cool logo and we've come up with some, and our man Vidman here who does all our stuff, he's so talented and so direct with everything that he does. And man, that guy can work a computer program like anything. You know, we're so blessed to have him. And so we've kind of been, he's like, dude, what do you want for a logo? And this is long ago. I'm like, I don't know, maybe an alien head, maybe a Carl or whatever. But I finally figured it out today. Finally. An owl.
You own the night.
Exactly.
Makes perfect sense. I love it.
An owl. Yeah. So I was talking to Lynn Wallington about it. And she's like, what about an owl? And her boyfriend, and real cool dude, Dave Hurley, he's like, what about an owl with headphones on? I love it.
Yeah.
You know, because it's something like every other radio show or television show, they have their main logo. Like UFO Garage uses, you know, an old vehicle here, you know, a Chevy Impala from like the 50s, you know, when Big Willie's on UFO Garage, he's in a VW van, and we got, you know, nothing. Well, we have something. Vinny came up with some great logos, like the one up here on our YouTube page, you know, and has everything. I love that one too. That's going to be a great t-shirt, right? But I think we just need to focus. Like everybody uses Bigfoot or aliens or UFOs, but nobody's using an owl.
You're right.
And here's something really weird that I didn't realize until like an hour and a half after. The NRO has a logo. The National Reconnaissance Organization has a logo of owl eyes, and their slogan, "We own the night."
Ooh.
How freaky is that?
That's pretty freaky.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you look at it, the owl, and I'm just kind of putting this out there, the owl, it stands for predator, which matches our song Little Brother is Watching, because he says predators to condemn your soul, watching you, watching me. It stands for the alphabet organizations, that are out there hiding the UFO and weird secrets.
Oh.
It stands for nighttime. It stands for aliens, because a lot of people will say that before they get taken, they see owls. It stands for everything. It just works.
It totally works. It's perfect.
Totally works.
Yeah, it totally works. I agree. I'd wear an owl shirt.
So would I.
Headphones. Definitely.
Yeah, me too. So anyways, that's my good news for today. I went looking for Bigfoot today.
Oh.
Yeah, I went looking for Bigfoot for about an hour today. Went back to a spot where I thought I'd seen a cross in the forest, like a giant X between two trees. And just as I thought when I got out to that spot with my buddy Mike today, the trees were about 8 feet apart, 10 feet apart. But from the road, they looked like they were connected. So, and then I ran into a trapper.
Oh.
Like a guy, and he had a little weasel. He caught a weasel. Okay. But nonetheless, started talking to him. So I go up to him and I'm like, you see anything strange out here? You know, because they don't, the first thing he does, he comes up to our vehicle, a nice guy. He goes, so what are you hunting for? No, we're not hunting. We're out looking for Sasquatch. And he kind of goes, I'm like, yeah. I'm like, we have prints from over on the 900 road. Oh, I got a trap line over there. Right. So we start talking. He actually says, let me take down your number just in case. Oh. So I gave the guy my phone number, and hopefully one day he calls. Hopefully.
Yeah, because he's out in the woods alone a lot.
Every day.
Yeah.
That was my excitement. How about yours?
Oh, well, I wanted to say I listened to, I didn't listen last night. I listened earlier today to your show from last night, and I thought it was great. I liked your guest, Amanda, and Merle, of course. Everyone can Merle in here. It was a great show. So I just wanted to add that in, that I watched that. But I've been good. Yeah.
How's hockey season going for your boy?
Going great. Yeah. We're just, we've been doing a bunch. I don't know if we call all the things the same, but just been doing a bunch of scrimmages, and they have their first actual game in another week or so. And then we have a little tournament to just get them all practiced. And they're just, I know I'm not supposed to say that they're adorable, but they're adorable. They're just so adorable. They're all little with their little skates and so tough. It's so cute.
My boy. I
don't say that on the, okay, I never, just so you know, I never say that, right? I never say, oh, you guys are so cute in front of the kids at the rink. I just say it privately on air to all of your listeners.
I'm going to tell your son.
Yeah, it's okay. You can tell him. I do it at home. He knows.
Well, you know what? We'll give it to you. I mean, you're still learning this hockey thing.
Yeah.
And you know, we're going to be a little bit happy about that.
Yeah, you know, I feel like I got a good wrangle on it, you know?
I think so. I think so. I think you're doing well.
I think, honestly, like, I just stand by the goal and just white knuckle it every time a puck comes at him. That's how it goes, and it'll probably never change. So
that's all right. We always get new listeners tuning you in for the first time. You know, we call you the queen of the cryptids around here, and for you, as we kind of warm up the show now, you know, for you are someone who has a love affair with these creatures of the night and these creatures of legend and folklore. What is the love about with these fantastical creatures?
Well, you know, I think I just was born with it, honestly, because even when I was a young kid, I just was always attracted to the villain. And I even remember having, like, you know, really liking the, you know, like, I always liked the bad guys, not like, oh, the bad, like, tough guys, you know, but like the bad guys. I found myself rooting for the, you know, the Joker, not Batman. You know what I mean? And I know that everybody else was, and I would never say that out loud. I'd just be like, yeah, okay, but, you know, I kind of hope he wins. And then I, you know, as I got older, I found that, you know, there were some people out there that also really liked the the villain as well. So I think I just kind of had that in me to begin with, and then I was just exposed to a lot of the occult and the paranormal from a really young age, both in terms of experience and also just sort of like lifestyle that we lived. So yeah, I think those two things kind of came together, and then I was just bouncing around from crappy job to crappy job, collecting strange trivia and things like that, and reciting odd facts at cocktail parties. And then one day someone said, you like to write, and I had written a couple of things that were like work for hires, which is basically just like you get paid to, write something. Someone tells you what to write and you get paid for it, and you don't get royalties or anything from it. And it's not really necessarily your idea. You're just kind of like, hey, yeah, I can write that. So I'd done a couple things like that, but I hadn't actually thought like, oh, I could write about something that I like, and I could write a book that I would want to read. Whoa, well, that was quite, it sounds silly, but it was actually kind of it was a turning point for me. Well, actually, the real turning point was when I presented the idea to the publisher, and they agreed to try it. So that was like one of my first books that was really any kind of success, and it's the Book of the Bizarre. It's just full of like random, strange trivia and ghost stories and freaky facts and things like that. So I wrote a book that I wanted to read. I loved the the Fate magazine and Reader's Digest. And I grew up reading all the, my cousins would all leave behind we'd spend the summer with my grandparents, and the older cousins would always leave behind things that were totally inappropriate for my age. Like, Stephen King novels and stuff that I'm reading at like 9-10 years old. So, it just all sank in and created the monster you see before you.
You are, though, starting to learn how to venture into fiction.
Yeah.
Science fiction. You've been taking courses on that, which I thought was really cool when I found that out. What is the difference of writing between, say, what you do with cryptid legends and stories compared to something that is completely out of your mind?
Yeah. Well, I've always written fiction. I've just never taken it very seriously or really tried to like work at it to get better at it. Partly because I had so many of these other books that, technically they're considered nonfiction, even if they have some fictional stories in them. But like with any kind of topic that you're researching, there's a lot of research involved. Often I am retelling stories that exist out there, or introducing audiences to stories that are then, like in my book are told by, originally William Butler Yeats or something like that. So that's a very different part of my brain. The other thing that's really different about it is that and this is true for most things that aren't fiction. If you're writing, you can have an idea, and as long as you have a kind of like you've written a little bit of it, and you've got a really good introduction and a really tight table of contents and a really nice proposal, you can pitch that. But with fiction, it's absolutely the opposite. You have to have it completely done, and you should have read through it multiple times and had non-biased readers, and had like a writing group give you feedback, and then you pitch it. And so it's a much more personal and grueling process, I think, to write fiction, even though, yes, you're making things up, right? Which is fantastic, because I do have a dark mind. So I gravitate toward,
Yeah, well, you're
female
a weirdo.
serial killers, I'm a weirdo. But so I got a couple niches there, but still it's a very one of the reasons that I've been like actually taking classes and joining writing groups is because I'm fascinated, one, by how different people actually approach something like a novel or some kind of like fiction story. And it's very interesting to me to be in a group with people who write very differently and about very different things, but that we're all kind of, in that there's a unity in that struggle, because writers really struggle. We struggle with, putting ourselves too out there, frequently, where, introverts that are sort of forced to be extroverted with our emotions, and yet, kind of like forced out to put ourselves out there, and that can be very uncomfortable. Writers by nature tend to want to like be in the cabin in the woods. That's their mindset, and or at least it's mine. It's just like you want to be away, but you actually really need a lot of connection and community to get better at it. Otherwise, you just read into yourself, and you're either going to tear yourself apart or think you're really great, and then it could be the opposite once your reader comes along. So
wonderful.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. Next girl, dog, or daughter. Oh, okay. So it could go either way. I'll take either. I'll take a cat, a fish. Oh, those things are all good. Bat.
What about a guitar?
An owl. A guitar. Oh, if someone named their guitar Varla, I would be like,
I would name my guitar after you.
I would sign it.
I have not even bought my guitar yet.
Well, look for one that is a double B.
Ooh. Now I got to go get a flying V.
Yeah,
I could name it Varla.
Yep.
Darn it! I have to get another guitar. That's terrible.
Oh,
terrible.
I'm so sorry.
I hate my life right now. Hate my life.
Yeah, sucks to be you.
It does. Varla Ventura and our cryptid world here on Spaced Out Radio. As she comes in once a month, Varla, we always start talking about the real cool subjects. So when we get to the bottom of the hour, right after the break, for you, the love that you have and the passion that you have for these topics. I know I've asked you this often, but I know you have a favorite, which is fairies, Pookas, a little bit of vampirism in the background. But is there a subject, and I've never asked you this, is there a subject that you've covered that you just hate? Can't stand it. Don't even know why you cover it.
Well, I've written some stuff I'm embarrassed about. That's for sure. So I don't know. I mean, it
didn't start off like, I couldn't believe this happened to me.
No.
Right.
Just some, I don't know, just things I'm not sure I really got right. I'm not entirely sure that my freaky, weird sources were good, I guess. But I don't think there's anything I've really disliked. No, not with the books that have been published.
There's got to be one cryptid out there. One cryptid out there, you're like, I hate this thing. It sucks. Why would anybody chase this down? Why did I write about it? Who created this?
Well, I've certainly come upon things I didn't write about because I didn't believe the stories that were being told to me. And I'm a big believer, so it takes a lot for me to like question you. I guess I would just say the only thing I really struggled with more than any of the other topics, because I write about haunted things and vampires and witches and werewolves, mermaids, fairies, pookas, changelings, all of the creatures of the night. I actually really struggled with writing well about UFOs because my experience with UFOs is very limited. I've had 2 sightings in my life, and I do believe that they were UFOs. And I have had actually very close family members, including my sister, also had some encounters. But I just feel like that's a topic other people have like covered really comprehensively, way better than me. And so I always include them in my books because I want to acknowledge that that's part of the world that I believe in. But I'm not particularly well versed in it. So I always kind of feel like, there's, people at a UFO convention that would know a lot more of the history. And usually I tend to include people's as told to me stories versus the history. And of all of the subjects, Celtic lore and vampires and all of that stuff. I'm pretty well versed in the history and the historical context, and I just don't know that much about UFOs, which is, that's just not my niche. So but it's not that I disliked writing about it. It's just wasn't really my, my area of expertise. So, but I can't really think of a creature where I was like, that thing's stupid.
Okay. Take out the stupid part.
Okay.
What about one that you do not believe is real?
One that,
we got 2 minutes.
Okay. There's one that, there's that, there's that one that's just like an internet thing, the tall
Siren
man
Man?
or something like that.
Iron Head or Slender Man?
A Slender Man. Yeah, Slender Man. That's just like completely made up and ridiculous. Black-eyed children, I'm on the fence about, to be honest with you. I think they might be something else, or confused with something else. And I'm particularly skeptical about phenomenon that have really kind of gotten popular in the last 10 to 15 years because, or 20 years, because of the internet and Photoshop and things like that. So I think, no. So I'm not saying that I don't believe in those things completely, but I am more skeptical of things that seem to have kind of become part of popular culture in more recent events without any kind of real historical context. And I have been told a couple, I had somebody call and tell me a story one time that was, I just really actually think it was repressed trauma and not this encounter that she had, not a UFO encounter. It was actually a paranormal, like a ghost encounter. And it went down a real strange ghost sex road that we don't need to get into because, time to go to break. But it just went in this way where I just was not convinced that it was, not that I don't believe in ghost sex, Dave, but I just don't. It didn't convince me the way she told it. So I mean, I've had stuff like that happen hundreds of times, where I'm not so sure about that. Which is why the stuff that I include, I actually believe. So.
Well, on that note, before we get into the whole ghost sex thing, which we can get into next half hour,
I've got a great story related to that. Actually,
we'll go into ghost sex next on Space Radio. Varla Ventura, our resident pervert cryptid author, is with us tonight. We need more light on you, dear, because you're way too pretty to be covered in the darkness. All right. Spaced Out Radio with Varla Ventura at varlaventura.net continues after this. You just made Fap a very happy man.
Why?
I want to hear more.
Oh, ghost sex. Yeah. Oh, I can tease my this one story I'm gonna tell. I'll tell you is the first. Well, it's either the first or the second. I've recorded both of them of the podcast that I'm gonna release with the little the stories to keep you awake at night instead of put you to bed.
So you took my advice.
So I've recorded 2 of them, and I have a YouTube channel, but I'm still editing them and adding the music in and like all that kind of stuff. And so when that's done, I'll release them. Do
you know how to do that?
I'll release them on Anchor, and then I'll just turn that over the audio file and put it on.
Good.
YouTube, right?
Good.
Yeah, that's all I got to do. Yeah.
So you got your YouTube channel up?
I mean, I have a YouTube profile. Is that like the same thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
hold on, I'm gonna bring you up here. Varla Ventura.
Yeah, I subscribe to you. I subscribe to you, Father Sebastian, and like John Prine or something like that.
See every interview you've ever done.
Oh God, there's like there's some embarrassing
Three Beards podcast.
Oh yeah, the Beardos. I love the Beardos. Have you ever? Do you know that podcast? They should have you on because you're a Beardo. Oh, I'm gonna put you in touch, okay? Because
that's fine.
They're and they I think the times don't conflict. I think they're earlier than your show, and there are these three guys with three guys with beards, and one of them's like definitely more into the paranormal, and then one of them's a little bit more skeptical, and then one of them's kind of in between, and they don't just interview paranormal, they interview all different kinds of guests, but they had me on there for the first time to talk about mermaids, and it was really fun and hilarious. So yeah.
What I find funny is like I'm going on YouTube here, and like every second, third show is a show we've done.
Yeah, because you own the night.
I do own the night.
Yeah, I was actually just reminiscing that I, like several years ago, I would say 8 years ago, I was actually on like George Norrie's, Coast to Coast. He's got a TV show that's like on Gaiam TV, and it was like a subscriber only thing. And I flew out to Boulder, and they sent a car for me. It was like some ungodly hour, like 7 a.m. They put me in this really nice hotel. And then I got out to the studio, and it was so early, and it was just like, I've got my like completely black, thick dress on and all this, they do my makeup and stuff. And it's like 7 a.m. And it was just really funny because I was staying in this hotel, and I saw Santa and Mrs. Claus in the hotel. And I thought, that's interesting. I just saw, people dressed as Santa and Mrs. Claus. And as I was leaving the studio, you can imagine, like, especially 8 years ago, long hair, very kind of like gothy looking, leaving. And I passed by Santa and Mrs. Claus, and they were the next guests on his show.
Nice.
So, yeah, it was amazing. I was like, what? Can we have drinks? Like, can we have drinks back at the hotel? Santa?
Drinks and ghost sex with Santa and Mrs. Claus.
Yeah,
all brought on by Varla Ventura.
Not my fault. I'm not going to be held responsible for what you people do with this information, okay?
Wow. Majdi, how are you? Welcome. I can't find your profile on YouTube.
Really? Well,
really?
I mean, I have one. I have a account that I subscribe to you on. So isn't that the same thing? Like, I tried to set one up, and it said you already have one. So I just have never posted anything.
Well, I'm looking for it.
And can I do that? Can I like slurp other people's interviews of me and put them on my own channel? No.
It's not recommended.
No,
I would let you do that with mine. I would give you permission to do that with Mars.
But wouldn't I just like link to wouldn't it just be yours on my page?
Probably, yes.
Yeah. So like,
yes.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
So.
We'll figure it. The gorgeous Lala B has returned. And we want to say a big thank you to both the lovely Dirt Road and Chris for the super chats tonight, kicking things off. Super chat is a great way to support what we do on a nightly basis. Jojo Bone, what's happening, brother? There he is. That man has a beard that is a twin to mine. I love him. All right. Thank you to all the veterans who have served and are listening to us, and let's rock and roll here. Here we go. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you miss portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot, reading Shirky Poo's Newswire, and checking out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can follow us on TikTok as well at Spaced Out Radio. That's brand new. I got to get used to saying that. Varla Ventura is here. She comes in once a month for a little ditty we call Our Cryptid World, talking monsters, ghosts, legends, folklore, you name it. But we're about to get R-rated here, and hopefully YouTube doesn't flag that. Ghost sex.
It's not going to be R-rated. Is
it really a thing? All right,
you can tell your kids about it. This is perfectly.
I'm trying to build hype and suspense for this half hour, and you're just like,
we could get kicked off. We'll get kicked off Facebook or something like that.
I know, but it's like, it's like putting up wallpaper.
It's horrible.
I don't know, boring.
It's absolutely horrible. Wallpaper is horrible. Yeah.
You know what? And I can't believe all these do-it-yourself shows that are on. They're all talking about wallpaper now. Wallpaper is making a comeback.
It's so hard to put up, and
it's ugly.
And you just do these things, and they're completely crooked. And then it's awful. It's awful. I don't mind the way it looks, certain wallpapers, but I just can't. You see it, it's all beautiful, and it looks like this great mural, and then you realize that somebody actually hung all of those pieces side by side with matched it up. And I am a very crooked person. I cannot cut a straight line. Like you give me a thing with the dotted lines and the really sharp scissors, and I can still not stay on track. I can't.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you.
So,
anyway.
What
the hell is ghost sex?
Back to ghost sex. Okay, now I didn't say I was going to tell you exactly what ghost sex was. I was going to tell you a ghost sex story.
Well, let's get into hold on in the story. Let's get into the ghost sex. What the heck is it first?
Okay, so I mean, it's exactly what you think it is. There are people that have sexual encounters with entities, or believe that they are having sexual encounters with entities. Can be during dreams, can be middle of the day, whatever. I've had quite a few people tell me stories like this, probably too many to be honest, and by and large they're usually women. I have not had too many men tell me ghost sex stories, thankfully. Not inviting that, not suggesting that you write to me, but so the most fascinating story, do you want to hear that, or you want to talk a little bit more about just like the general?
Let's go into the generalized version.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I don't know, because I personally haven't had sex with a ghost. However, I have had a ghost tell me it wanted to have sex with me through a Ouija board. That counts. But I was a teenager, and I think it was probably the guy with me that was pushing the planchette. Go move it over to yes. Yeah, we're gonna leave this basement now. So, good. Well, we got security in the house, so we're gonna be okay here. Yeah. Okay. I get distracted by the chat. It's basically the stories have some similarities. It's usually not a one-off. There's usually an ongoing relationship, and it often does not. It's not like the first thing that happens. It builds. So the most famous example that I know of. And I won't give you all the great details of the story because it's a pretty long story, but there's a woman whose name was Ida Craddock, and she was actually known for, she's not that well known. Today, she's mostly known by people who are members of the OTO, because Aleister Crowley actually reviewed something that she wrote after her death and sort of elevated her as an honorary, like, 4th degree in the OTO, because he felt that her experiences that she had written about were of like something that an initiate of the OTO would know, and someone who had gone through specific sex magic practices would know. And yet she was this woman in the 1880s that had this specific knowledge. So one of her things that she actually died pretty young because she was persecuted by this guy named Anthony Comstock. Okay, so you just got to think of like the context. It's like in New York, I think she was born in 1850, so she's probably when she's in her 20s, 30s, 1870, 1880, and she is this really incredible sex educator and liberal. Like incredible. She starts writing these materials that she distributes. Like you go in the back of a catalog and send in a few, you send her $1 and she'd send you this pamphlet. And they were geared toward young women. And she was basically talking very frankly about sex. In Victorian times, when you weren't even friggin' allowed to show an ankle, right? Like this was like big thing. And it's pretty explicit. I've read her materials and they're, in particular for the times, quite explicit. She had one that was called The Wedding Night, and it was all about what to expect on the wedding night, because you had women who were expected to be virgins and then marry usually older men, and their moms didn't tell them anything. You know, it wasn't talked about. There wasn't sex education in schools. It wasn't a talked about thing. So basically it was this really terrifying thing. And so she felt that her job was to educate young women and young men that there were ways that you could actually have a pleasurable sex life. And this is in Victorian times, right? And so this guy named Anthony Comstock was the secretary for the Society for the Suppression of Moral Vice. And his whole deal was to basically like ruin everybody's good time. He was against smoking, drinking, contraception, and birth control, abortion, of course, and basically like sex, unless it was, I'm not really sure what he approved of. So anyway, he was like, had it out for her and many other people. And he also was like the U.S. Marshal for he was the Postmaster General. So in the end, he arrested her on charges of distributing lewd materials through the U.S. Postal Service, which was a felony. And he actually had her arrested like 5 or 6 times. And then he finally got her. He had a law passed. It's called the Comstock Law. And it was basically like, you can't send lewd materials through the mail. So he was able to try her on that. Okay, that whole story is like incredible. There's all these other like sidebar details. But the important thing here is that she claimed she was never married. And she claimed that she got all of her knowledge about the marriage bed and all of her knowledge about sex and men and women and how they interacted and how to have an orgasm and all that stuff. She claimed that she got all that knowledge from an angelic being that she was married to that would visit her nightly. And that was her spiritual husband. His name was Soph. And he regularly attended her in the night. And, you know, that's how she said she got all of her knowledge. And that's how she felt very confident in being able to tell people how to have a positive sex life. Yeah. I mean, you know, he does not leave his dirty socks on the floor, right? He's just like, this angelic being comes in, makes you feel really good. And then, you know, it's gone by the morning, gone by the light of day. So, yeah. And that is kind of the big kind of crazy thing about her, apart from the fact that she had she was really there. The things that she did for her time, there are many, many other things that she did. She was a sort of a Dr. Ruth of her time. She was a sexual counselor. She opened an office in Chicago where couples could come in and get sexual counseling. And again, we are talking about like the 1880s, right? Like that is, you really didn't have an upstanding woman, a woman of higher class doing anything that had to do with talking about sex at all. She's just a very interesting character, very layered. And her story is actually ends tragically, which is, don't really need to get into that right now. But the cool thing is that because she wrote these two, so she wrote all of these like pamphlets and stuff, but this sex education material, but she also wrote these 2 or 3 like very metaphysical works that talked about like hanging with Soph and the things that she learned from her spiritual husband. And that's what later, the reason I ever found out about her is I was reading Aleister Crowley published these things called the Equinox, which were these journals that he put out on a regular basis. And I was working on a project with someone, and I was reading through the Equinox, trying to kind of find something for them. And I kept finding all these little Easter eggs in there. And one of the things was a review about this woman's work. And that led me to ask some questions. And then it eventually introduced me to a couple of people who knew a lot more than I did about it. And we kind of I kind of learned more of the story and helped work on a book project about her that I did not write. So yeah. And so there's all basically Aleister Crowley gave her cred, and that's kind of why she's revered today in that aspect. But a lot of feminists don't even know about her incredible crusades to just, liberate the masses.
Well, there you go. All right. You have actually a ghost sex story for us.
That is the ghost sex story.
Well, I thought it was something personal.
No. So that I could make something up. I mean, it wouldn't be that hard, but or would it? I don't have a personal one. I've never actually had sex with a ghost.
I'm not saying with you. I thought it was like one of your friends or something.
Oh no. Well, I did have a woman that wrote in. I could tell you. Well, I mean, I feel kind of bad because I don't believe her story, but I could tell you it anyway. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. So she claimed, and I'm not, I'm not in contact with this person anymore. And it was someone that had written to me after, I think the second book of the Bizarre, and said, well, I got a ghost story for you. And so we actually arranged a phone call because that was the other thing that was a little weird about it, is she had set it up like she didn't mention that there was ghost sex involved. She just sort of mentioned that she had this really incredible paranormal experience and that she would love to tell me the story. And we had like some various whatever emails back and forth. And I was like intrigued. Okay, yeah, I'll talk to you. So we just get on the phone, and I'm going to like record the conversation and take notes because she had said, yeah, you could include this story in your next book if you want. So we get on the phone, and she sounds very, she's kind of struggling to get through the story a little bit or get going. And she starts telling me the story, and it starts out like, many common paranormal stories, right? Like I saw things when I was a kid a couple times, but I didn't really have I hadn't really had a paranormal experience. And then, one night I woke up and there was like this shimmering entity at the foot of my bed or something like that. So she's kind of starts telling me that. And I'm like, okay, this is cool. She's just kind of taking a while to warm up. And then it just started getting real weird because she started talking about, she said, well, have you ever had a ghost touch you? Now, I personally have. I've been, tapped and such by ghosts. And she says, well, have you ever had a ghost like really touch you? And I was like, I don't know. I've gotten whacked in the forehead. Like, what are you getting at here? So she proceeds to tell me rather explicitly that she had a ghost and this was the part I did not, this is why I thought she was just like some kind of weirdo trying to get my attention, because she said that the ghost undressed her. And I just don't think that's possible. I think you could be kind of mind controlled to maybe take your own clothes off, but I don't think you're going to just like, a ghost is just going to come in and like strip you down. Like, that's just not how it works. You have to have some control over it. So she proceeds to tell me that this ghost, it came into her room, and it would come into her room very regularly after that. And every time it would like, pull up her nightgown, and she would have paralysis, right? Like, it wasn't a particularly pleasant thing. She would have that whatever it's called, it's called paralysis, right? Where you wake up and you can't move, and it's frequently accompanies seeing some kind of entity, and you just kind of like you can't move. So that would happen, and then she would she would have, then she told me that very bluntly told me that she had the best orgasm of her life, and then she didn't mind that she had it was just very, very unbelievable to me that it would go that way. I thought, I feel like a ghost would be a little more consensual and just kind of, guessing that. So,
what are you expecting a ghost to bring out Barry White?
I'm expecting roses, yeah, or at least the smell of roses, right? Because ghosts, sometimes they can carry scents with them. So anyway, it was she said it went on for several on and off for several years, and that and then one day it just stopped, and I was like, okay, well,
oh man, just shut right down.
Yeah, it just stopped, and
the ghost flipped over in the bed.
I don't know. I feel kind of bad that I didn't believe her, because I know that I think she believed her, if you know what I mean. Like, I think she believed that that's what had happened.
Joe wants to know, is ghost sex usually consensual?
Such a night we're having. It's my fault. I started this. I started it, and I'm gonna see it through. I mean, if you ask Idocratic, absolutely. Like, that was 100% a consensual relationship. And the other few stories I've heard, it's usually very welcome. So if it's welcome, I think that's consensual. That's why this lady, it just didn't gel with me, because it had too many things that were so different than any other story I'd heard or read, and that it also just had this kind of strange, it was just strange. And I don't know, my spidey sense told me she was not telling the truth, and she was just trying to get a reaction out of me. If it had been a man, I would have probably hung up, to be honest with you, like, not to be totally like gender biased, but if a man had started telling me, oh, well, then I had sex, I would have just figured he was like a pervert trying to just see if he could.
Just such a double standard.
I mean, know. Well, you know what? It is what it is.
It's true. I got to ask you though, wouldn't ghost sex be considered what we see as almost demonic with succubuses and incubuses?
Yeah, totally. Actually, there could well be, it could be the same thing, right? I know we've talked about this before, where we call things differently in different centuries, but maybe they're just the same thing, and we just have different words and different language and different pictures that we can draw of these things. But yeah, so the one problem I have with that is that was often, the succubus kind of thing of like this demon coming and like sucking on a witch's teat was generally used against women in order to persecute them as witches. And it was used as a doctrine of the church, because, the church is the one that introduced demons, right? Like, that's where demons came from. They came from the church. Like, that's what I believe anyway. The idea of the devil being a part of witchcraft or witchery in any way was introduced by the church in an attempt to control the spirituality of the people. So, and also the church also didn't like sex, right? So there you go. Like, they didn't like sex being a kind of talked about or owned thing. And that was the other thing about Idocratic. And I think she totally fits in that category of the, women accused of witchcraft. She was basically accused of witchcraft because she dared advocate not just for women's rights, but she actually dared advocate for women's rights to enjoy sex, which was revolutionary at the time. Nobody was saying that. I mean, no one was saying that. They didn't even want to acknowledge, they didn't want to say the word, right? Like, they didn't want to show a toe. It was really, really revolutionary of her, regardless of where her knowledge came from. I mean, I think it's extra impressive that it came from an angelic being, but you be the judge.
I don't know. And I understand with what you're saying, but I mean, when it comes to succubuses and incubuses, I mean, being able to take advantage of people, their emotions, their hearts, their souls. I mean, we
Mm.
are we are dealing with something that's a little, that preys on the vulnerable.
Yes, actually, I think that's true. And I do think that there's a crossover also with some paranormal experiences. And actually, you say that, and I realize that's probably why I didn't hang up with this lady, is because regardless of whether or not I believed her story, I felt that she was very vulnerable and that something was preying on her. And it made me want to just not be a jerk, I guess, because I did feel like, vulnerability, and and I don't say vulnerability as a negative. We all have vulnerable times in our lives. We all have times when, we don't have it together, or we've experienced trauma that is completely out of our hands, and we're just trying to work through it, and that can make us vulnerable. Just as just the very rise of what we look at today in the paranormal community is kind of on the back of spiritualism from that time. And spiritualism, which is communication with ghosts, and that ghosts actually want to communicate with the living and vice versa, that really came to rise 1840 to 1930 or so. And then spiritualism still exists today, but that's sort of the backbone that then became the metaphysical movement, the New Age movement, and kind of gave rise to a lot of the ideas of being able to do ghost hunting today. I mean, it's quite different than it was 100 years ago, but it's still it's kind of on the back of that. And with that came a lot of vulnerability because people were mourning, and people, in particular in the United States, you had the Civil War. And so spiritualism took a huge spike after the Civil War because you had an entire nation where there was nary a household that didn't suffer a loss. And so you had people who wanted to know what happened to their son who died in a battlefield across the country, and that they may never even have a chance to bury his body. And so you had people looking for those messages. And as such, there was a communal vulnerability, which I think also gave rise to a lot of open-mindedness and progress and change. But at the same time, there were people that were, doing fake spirit photography and things like that to take advantage. But that's not really, I mean, that's different than an incubus or a succubus. But the vulnerability element is an important one there.
All right. Well, this one
Well,
way off, way
this got
off,
weird.
right? Yeah, yeah. Ghost sex therapist Varla Ventura is here tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We're hanging out. We're having a great time. In hour two, we're going to get into some monsters, cryptids, audience questions as well as we continue with Varla Ventura's Our Cryptid World. VarlaVentura.net. You can find all of her books at any major bookstore in North America. Stay tuned. Hour two of Spaced Out Radio is next. Right. Oh God, some of the comments in the chat room.
God, okay, wait, I'm gonna go over there because I could not look at that. Well, I cannot look at that while I'm talking to you.
That's why I didn't post any. I mean, they were flying.
Yeah, okay.
Downshift called you Varla Vegas Ventura.
Well,
Fabster. Honestly, I think Fabster is getting ready to hit on you in Vegas now because of that.
Okay, I don't even know where to go. I don't even know where to go. It's like so far back here. What's happening?
Pam McSee's like, oh, my ears. My ears.
I have come to the right place. Oh, I'm glad I didn't see these. I would not have been able to carry on. I'm glad I didn't see these before. There's a lot. Oh my God. There's so many. I can't even get back to them. I don't even know what time to even. I'm only 7 minutes ago, and it's crazy.
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah. Fun. Oh, you have the best. You just have the best audience.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Cuteness. Okay. Best orgasm of her life.
Maybe it was the wallpaper or lack thereof that attracted him to her in her room.
The wallpaper was off. Oh my God. There's, they're pretty respectful considering the topic. It seems. Well, I don't know. I haven't read them all yet. I can't even go back any farther.
I'm looking here. Papa T, how are you? Ghost in the sheets, but a freak in the streets. That's awesome. Oh my gosh. You guys are hilarious. Hilarious.
Ghost in the sheets, but a freak in the streets. Stay home.
Project Blue Book, how are you?
Social distance.
Pam's still having her heart attack. My eyes!
Oh, I'm sorry.
Logan L, he's vaping with me.
Varla Vagina monologues. Ventura. Can't unsee this thought. Oh my. You know what? You just can't plan this stuff, Dave.
You know what? Anything is possible with Varla Ventura.
You just never know.
That's it.
You never know what's going to happen. Gosh, now I feel like we got to step it up for the next hour.
We'll just end the show right there, to be honest.
Was that a was it disappointing that I didn't have my own personal ghost sex story? I'm sorry. Maybe I'll have one next time.
I'm kind of pissed off about that.
Yep. Sorry. I could have made one up. I mean, I have been working on my fiction skills. So
Downshift says I blame Chad Smith. All of this is Chad Smith's fault.
I agree. It's totally. You should ask. No, I wouldn't ask Merle that.
I would.
Much of a gentleman.
No, you got to ask Merle that. Where's Merle? Merle, where are you?
That was fun.
Kira's like, was it good for you, Dave?
Yeah, she's got some funny comments in here.
Oh, that's Kira.
She might be the funniest of them all. What I miss? You missed the ghost sex. Like
Magnus Zerum, how are you?
There is a whole genre, Dave.
Merle actually tried to have ghost sex.
Did he?
He did. At one investigation here in Barkerville, they used to have a brothel back in the 1800s. Fun. And the rumor is if you put money on the nightstand in the middle of the night, one of the temptresses will come in to your door, open your door, close the door, take the money, and crawl on top of you. So he tried, and he got nothing.
That is not an uncommon. You said that, and there's a brothel, or what used to be a brothel in Nevada. I think it's the Silver Queen Hotel. I think it's in Virginia City. I'm gonna look it up because it's in my book, and it's something very similar. If you leave money for the madame, she may visit you.
Yep. Only Merle could get turned down by a ghost as well.
Oh, Merle.
Damn, Merle.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on, guys. Hold on. Mr. Cowley. Oh. Dun, dun, dun. Welcome back to the show. Oh, Mr. Cowley. Dun, dun, dun. Loves his spaced out radio. There we go. That felt good. That was a good one.
Yeah. I felt like, when was that going to happen? Because it happens pretty much each time, right? I mean, every time I've been on, you've sung that song. Mm-hmm. It's your thing.
It's how I roll.
Yeah, it is how you roll.
It just feels good. It just feels really good.
It sounds good, Dave. It sounds good.
It does. Memorial, thank you for joining us. All right.
Okay, I think it's the Dorrington. No, that's in California. I think it's the Silver Queen Hotel in Virginia City. I can't actually find it, but I'm almost positive. That's a very, very haunted town and a very haunted hotel. So, yeah.
All right.
You never know what's going to come through the Ouija board.
Never know. All right, we're coming back in 10 seconds. Don't forget, Super Chat is open. Thank you, Dirt Road. Thank you, Chris. Here we go, everyone. Let's do this.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out on our swag as well. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates across North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Catabothron. Catabothron is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. Once again, check it on out. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Well, we're going to tone it down here. Maybe. Ventura is
we'll
here.
See.
VarlaVentura.net is her website. You can find all her books at any major bookstore, and we're having a good time tonight. Yeah, if you missed the first hour,
Back it up.
You may want to hit the rewind and check it on out. Definitely, or go to our archives and listen to it for free. Yeah, Ghost Sex. It was on. It was one hell of a party, and now we continue on. Varla, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I would like to ask your audience a question because I noticed that, so what someone said the Silver Queen in Nevada was not a brothel, which is absolutely correct. What is the name of the hotel in, I believe it's also in Virginia City, with a very similar story to one that Dave was telling on the break there, that if you leave money, the madam will come and visit you in the room. If anyone can answer that, then yay, you get a grin. I don't know the name of it, and I thought I had it in my book, and then I just can't look through it there right now. I didn't see it in there.
Well, let's see.
So if you've been to a former brothel anywhere in the state of Nevada, and you've left money out for a ghost, like Merle once did,
yes,
let us know.
Yep, I will concur with that. I will concur. All right, let's get to some monsters, weirdos,
all right,
legends. Because you know what, the run to Christmas has begun. First, we have to get through Black Friday next week.
Oh yeah, thanks by the way for accommodating me. Because in Canada next Thursday, which is really the day I'm supposed to be on, right? Because it's the third Thursday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm usually the third Thursday.
Third or fourth.
I'm usually the fourth, sometimes the third, like this month, because you're accommodating my my country's horrific holiday. So appreciate that.
Well, hold on a second here. There will be no insulting of Black Friday here. And once again,
you're into Black Friday, huh? Yeah. You
once again, to our American listeners, when you are videotaping Black Friday brawls, do not hold your phone vertically. Turn it horizontal so we get the full view. I want to see grandmothers ripping toys out of children's hands. I want to see punching, kicking, screaming, hair pulling, lots of Karening out there, lots of kenning out there. Come on, we got to do it right. Last year, I was so disappointed. I was pumped up for Black Friday, ready and willing. I woke up early to watch all the videos on YouTube, and there was nothing.
No.
Nothing.
It's because a bunch of places just closed because they were like, yeah, we're not doing that.
Well, because of COVID and everything.
Yeah,
But this
because
year,
of COVID. Well, there's still COVID, but I have a feeling there's going to be a brawl or two at Walmart.
I'm hoping so. If you're going to a Walmart, Target, Best Buy,
I think Walmart's your best bet for that. Actually, more likely, there's a higher percentage of drug use in Walmart parking lots. So therefore, you're going to get more likely to have a brawl.
Either way,
saying. If you
we
don't want to
have to do
disappoint
it right.
Dave.
You know, I want to see people taping up their knuckles, putting spikes on baseball bats. Okay? Let's purge, people. Let's purge on Black Friday. Okay? Let's go in there. You need that 75-inch television. You need that hottest toy from the toy section. You need everything there. Let's go. Let's go. We can do this properly, America. Do not disappoint. The whole world is watching. The whole world is watching. We can do this. All right? Do us proud, people. Do us proud. Some of us rely on this entertainment.
Yes, I'm sure we're constantly providing entertainment for the Canadian friends.
I always like it because comments like Jules here, and I love Jules. She goes, Dave, darling, don't wish for crazy people to be violent. It's going to happen too much anyway. That's what we want.
Yeah.
That's what go for it. I want to see it. Don't give me this online. I'm only buying from Amazon crap. Okay.
You know what?
Get
Did
to
you
it.
watch a lot of WWF growing up?
I sure did.
Yeah, so did I. That's what people always ask me if I'm related to Jesse the Body Ventura, and I'm not, but how cool would that be?
All I'm saying is we can do it right. We can do it right. Let's get to those malls. At 12:01, people, you need to be there. You need to be there. All right? You know what? There's first aid attendants on property for reasons. We can do it.
That crap is not going to buy itself.
Exactly. Exactly. You need to do this for us, America. Do us proud. Coming off of Thanksgiving.
Oh, God.
I just wanted, you know what? I honestly, it is a bucket list of mine to actually see it happen live.
I've actually never seen it happen live, so it's definitely not on my bucket list. So like the last thing I would want to do is be near people who are, well, okay, I'll just leave it there. Be near people who are aggressively shopping in big box stores. That would be, not my crowd. But you know what? Maybe I'll do it just to see if I can get some video for you.
Yeah. Look, this is a good point here. Hold on. Before we move on here, Arlene has a good point here. She goes, brawl at the Walmart. Meanwhile, the cunning people are on jet skis running from ship to ship because all the ships have the containers out in the bays, right?
Oh.
They can't unload.
The pirates?
Yeah, you know what? If you want to go pirate, I want to see cannonballs, machine gun fire. You need to rent helicopters and F-18 Hornets, and I want to see dog fighting. I want to see swords come out. All right, let's do this. I want to see.
I could go for a sword fight.
Yeah, that would do it for me. Speaking of water, all right. Because you don't hate
Speaking
water.
of swords.
Any new mermaid stories that you've heard? Because a lot of people want me to ask you that every single time.
Oh, well, I always have new things that I've discovered about mermaids, yes. And I can't remember if we talked about this last time, but I've been looking more into the idea that, well, a couple things. One, that one of the questions I get asked the most about the fairy kingdom in general, and this does relate to mermaids, is, why don't we see them? Like, why can't we see them all the time? And I actually heard a myth that I had never heard before, and it is related to mermaids, and it answers everything. And I feel like a fool that I had never heard this before. But essentially, there's a Celtic god named Manan Mac Lir, and that means the son of the sea god. And he was a marrow, and he has many cool things like a shield that protects him from any harm, and he's got this cool boat that's mind controlled, and it's usually copper, and it goes across the sea, and it can actually go into the land of the dead and return. It's like lots of really cool things. But he also has this shroud. This is really common with any kind of like Mercury had one of these, Hermes had one of these. Like there's a cloak or a hat of invisibility. So Manon MacLear had a cloak of invisibility. Some people called it like a cape. Other people called it a cloak. But this cloak, was essentially the thick fog coming off the sea would cloak this island, the Isle of Man, which is where people think Avalon is or was. And this thick fog would cover the land, and it would basically, they still refer to it as his cloak of invisibility, as Manon MacLear's or MacLear's cloak. So the deal is the fairies got in a couple of different wars, and they lost to a magical group, and they also lost to like humans. And Manon MacLear said, instead of just leaving Ireland completely, I'm going to give you this cloak. And what you do is you go and you live underground, and you can just like have your whole thing going on there. And whenever you want to come out, you have this cloak, and you can use this cloak to disguise yourself from people who would do you harm. And so that's why if you see a fairy, you either caught them unaware because they don't have their cloak up, or they trust that you're not going to hurt them. Which is interesting because a lot of the fairy stories involve, especially the more contemporary ones from like by contemporary I mean the turn of the 20th century. They really had there's often an element of capture and violence in a sort of trapper type way, But anyway, so relating to that, the mermaids are considered part of that fairy kingdom. The Merrow are considered members of the, aquatic fairy kingdom. And they also have access, of course, to this cloak. But the other thing that I've been looking into and seen a few different stories about is the idea that mermaids and witches are very tied together, more so than I ever suspected. I know a lot of witches that love mermaids, and I know a lot of mermaid lovers that, seem witchy. And I know that there's always the idea of shape-shifting that's involved with mermaids and selkies. And so there's a natural kind of also healing women that can gather, the plants from the sea and from the seaside, and that these have like medicinal and healing properties. So all of these things tie together because frequently women were ostracized from an area if they were like a little village or whatever, if they were weird. And mermaid women were weird. They didn't, if they were able to shape shift and come on land at all, which is a whole other element of mermaids that we haven't really talked about, is the what happens if they can come on land. That aspect of the myth and lore, you combine that with this knowledge, and so you would have these women who are accused of being witches, and actually persecuted and sometimes killed for being witches, who had this vast knowledge of the sea, that they were believed to be descendants of mermaids, and that's where they got or selkies, and that's where their knowledge came from. Their great-great-great-grandmother was actually a mermaid, so they weren't necessarily mermaids themselves, but that a mermaid and a human were able to have these children, and they kind of pass this otherworldly ability on. So I've been kind of going down that road with just trying to find some folklore that matches my theories about it, and also kind of sparks different angles with that. So yeah, so some mermaid material.
Question for you. Do fairies steal infants, children, like the missing fetus syndrome?
So one of the most terrifying things in the fairy kingdom, and one of the most terrifying things that I find particularly scary, and all of the things I've researched, is the idea of a changeling. And a changeling is a fairy switch. It's basically a kidnapping. Fairies take the baby. Sometimes they leave a fairy baby in exchange. That's more common, but sometimes they'll just take the baby back to the fairy kingdom. And sometimes it's also not a baby. It could be a young person, even a teenager or something like that. There's lots of ways to end up in the fairy kingdom, but this is without your own doing, without consent. So I don't know why I laughed about that. So anyway, yes, that can happen and has happened. And there's also, I think, a lot of the other reason that I find it terrifying is that I also believe that there were a lot of things that were mistaken for fairy babies and were thought to be fairy babies and were abandoned or kind of eschewed in society. And they were probably just what we would know today as a birth defect. And so I find that aspect of it really haunting and extra sad. But there's lots of stories. William Butler Yeats has actually some of the most terrifying descriptions of what a changeling is, and how to tell if it's a changeling and what to do if you think it's a changeling. And also how to prevent a changeling. So if a woman was giving birth, you had to lock every single, every drawer in every dresser had to be locked. Everything had to be completely sealed. But then if you think about that, it's probably a good idea, right? Because you're actually kind of sealing out dust and debris and, random smoke and things like that might actually contaminate the environment. And the environment needs to be pretty sterile to have a healthy, safe birth and not having, infections and stuff like that. So sometimes the folklore is the saving grace there. That folk belief will actually protect people. So whether you think it's because fairies are coming in or not, or if it's just germs, either way, you got, a safe little happy baby.
Do you believe that the fairy realm is deep underneath and looks very much like a different earth on top with nature and everything around there rather than just dirt tunnels?
I don't think it's just dirt tunnels. I definitely don't think that. I think it's sort of an alternate reality. So you enter into it in many cases through a cave or a tunnel or, a door in a rock in the middle of a lake or something like that. That's if you can find that, you're definitely going to go straight to the fairy kingdom. And we see fairy doors, we see them in trees, and people put fairy doors out, of course, but they exist in nature in different formations. So there are different portals all over, right? Where ley lines cross and stuff. So I think of it as sort of an alternate version of what we have. And I don't necessarily think it's all underground. I think it can exist at, I guess a parallel dimension. I'm not quite sure if that's really the right term for it, but it's kind of ongoing around us. And there are little cracks that we see through that you've seen through many times, Dave, where there's just a crack and we can see something from that other side. The veil is lifted, right? Manon MacLear's cloak is lifted briefly, or they forgot to put it on. And so I think it's kind of more like a circular thing with layers rather than a Tales from the Dark Side kind of flip thing. Although that's a cool visual, but I don't think it's you go down and you end up in this. And there are more cave dwelling, rock dwelling type fairies, but I don't think you go in and there's just it opens up into this whole other world that's completely underground. I think it's just the same world, but more magical.
Do you know anybody who has actually seen the fairy realm?
Yes, actually. Yes, I do. There's a couple people that I know that do pretty serious fairy magic work. So they do a lot of just energy healing, and they're really connected with the fairy realm. But actually, my mom is the person that has been to the fairy realm. She probably first visited it as a kid in dreams, and she used to tell us stories. And she would just kind of make these stories up. But then as she got older, and she's a witch, and she's done all different kinds of, done like priestess stuff, and she's sort of come late, in the last like 10 or 15 years, she's come to fairy magic. And when I say that, that doesn't mean like you put a little like statue of a fairy in your garden and that's it. It's actually a whole spiritual practice that taps into Celtic belief systems and Celtic mythology, but goes deeper to understand the connections between the natural world and the living world, and the conduits in between, which are the fairies. And so she has actually gone to that fairy kingdom on more than one occasion. I think she goes into it in her, regularly in her meditation, in her magical practice, but I think she's actually crossed into it a couple times because there's just things that have happened to her that that I can't explain, and things that she's seen that I can't explain. And I personally haven't gone, but maybe when I'm older and wiser, I'll actually gain more access, because I haven't had a lot of like fairy sightings. I had a couple when I was a kid. But I've had more ghost stuff than anything. So
when your mom was in the fairy realm, did she ever go into depth what it looked like?
Well, most recently, she had an experience where she had gone to this local guy that I know, and they had done like a Reiki session, which is like energy work. And then he does fairy magic. And so they kind of dropped into this like meditation where they were together going into the fairy realm. And when she described that, she actually was just sort of like listening to the music or whatever. And she actually saw, she was in this dark tunnel, and she saw all of these little faces. She said almost like little children, and they were peeking in on her, and they were kind of like looking down and peeking in to see her. And they were very, very happy to see her. And the guy who was conducting the session, there are not very many people who do this. It's a very specific talent. And I don't believe that many people are actually able to do it. He actually had, I was really proud because he said they all came, including the dark ones, that don't really like people and don't trust people, because they're the ones that remember, it's like the kid in the family that remembers when the parents were jerks, that they remember how they were mistreated by mankind and how they're repeatedly mistreated. And even they came forth. So there's been a couple things kind of like that where she is actually seeing the faces. So, yeah.
All right. Varla Ventura, I'm going to get you to hold on right there, because we're going to continue with the fairy talk on Spaced Out Radio. Your questions as well when we return on the mighty SOR. Stay tuned. I'm just going to go refill my water. I'll be right back.
Okay. I think I'm going to read a poem or something. Nobody minds, right? All right. I see no objections. Ooh, well, I can read this William Butler Yeats Changeling thing, because that's what I opened up to. So I'll just read that while Dave's getting his water. Ooh, okay. That's not the one I wanted. Okay, found it. Many things. Oh, this is kind of horrible. Many things can be done to find. This is from William Butler Yeats. Okay. Many things can be done to find out in a child a changeling, but there is one infallible thing. Oh, I can't even read this. I think we'll get kicked off the air if I read this. This is very gruesome. I almost got kicked off the air for reading it once before. So you'll have to buy the book if you want to know what I'm talking about, but it's cruel. It's cruel. Dave, I stopped myself.
You what?
Well, I was about to read something and then I started to read it and I stopped myself because it's actually pretty gruesome, and it's the thing that almost got me kicked off coast to coast.
Yeah,
so
no.
I decided not to read it. Yep.
Thank you. Come again. DJ Duvenois, welcome to SOR Chat. And Chad Smith was right. Get your ass in here.
The page number. Okay, the page number is.
Matt Malibu, welcome to SOR Chat. Let's see. Veteran Surf Jer, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you.
Okay, the page number is page 101 in Fairies, Pookas, and Changelings.
Yeah.
So if you have it, you can read it and you can see why I didn't read it out loud. I was going to try and read while you were gone, I was going to try and read that most famous fairy poem, but I couldn't find it.
That's okay.
Oh, I know.
That's okay. What a stupid show this has been. It's been awesome. Oh, I love you, Varla Ventura.
Ghost Sex and Poetry. Tonight has everything.
All we need is a little bit of wine.
Oh, my.
Chad Smith on the DJ board. We'll be fine.
How mad would you be if I got us kicked off while you were gone? You're like, I can't leave you alone. I wouldn't. I
would give you one of these. I would give you one of these, a good finger shaking.
You've been kicked out of stuff. You understand.
I can't remember the last time I got kicked out of a place.
Oh, kicked out of a place. Yeah, I mean, I haven't been kicked out of a place for, probably 20 years or something, you know?
Yeah, about there.
Yeah.
About there.
Way, way more nice now than I used to be.
Varla Ventura used to be mean.
I just used to be more angry. Now I'm happy, so it's good.
Very cool. Very cool.
I used to be more punchy, like to punch things.
Oh, yes. I could see that about you.
It's terrible. Because I'm not very good at it. So I just end up getting hurt.
I could totally see that.
No fights in Vegas.
Come on, Varla. You got to punch somebody. Thank you to Dirt Road ×2, Spooky Morales, and Chris Holm, that is, for the awesome super chats. Remember, it's a great way to support what we do here on a nightly basis. So please, if you can, and of course, give us a thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs sideways. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Here we go. Let's kick off the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much. You're going to want to stick around for the final half hour. Dave 101 tonight. Are we really ready for aliens? That's what we're talking about tonight on Dave 101. My answer will be no. No, we're not. I'll explain why later on at Dave 101. But Varla Ventura is here tonight as we are talking about fairies. I totally forgot to intro this half hour, but that's okay.
Yeah.
This show's all gone for a hell in a handbasket after that first hour, but that's okay. It's worth it.
I take full responsibility, although you're the host, so you could have stopped me.
I could have.
I feel like you goaded me.
Yeah, we love our Varla Ventura around here. VarlaVentura.net is her website, and our website, spacedoutradio.com. Check out Shirky Poo's news. Check out, what else can we check out? Just check everything out there. Get our swag as well. All right. Anyways, Varla Ventura is here. We're continuing on with the fairy talk tonight, so make sure you check that on out. And you can check out all of her books at VarlaVentura.net or at any major bookstore. Fairies. Fairy realm. Your mom has been to the fairy realm. Certain people get to go to the fairy realm. From what I've heard from talking to people like Gemma Jade, who is going to be joining our team here very soon, along with others who've really investigated this entire phenomena about the fairy realm. It can be a very dangerous place.
Oh, yeah.
You may not come back. Kidnappings have happened.
You may not come back. You may come back completely changed and traumatized. It's not unlike being abducted, honestly. It's very one of the things that traditionally and specifically in Celtic myths and led the stories of where a lot of our kind of modern thinking about certainly Celtic fairies or Irish fairies. I think that dominates the fairy kind of genre. There's fairies around the world, but I think that a lot of what we think of as fairies does come from the Celtic beliefs. And it's definitely a very dangerous place. And there was a line that you walked, a line that you should still walk today, that is both in reverence and fear. And I heard actually recently, I was listening to, I love traveling to Ireland, and I was listening to like a travel show about Ireland, and I was like listening to this podcast, and there was a host who said, ask 100 Irish people if they believe in fairies, and they'll tell you no. But then tell them to go, mess around by that fairy tree or cut down that fairy tree in their yard, and there's no way they'll do it. So there's still today this sort of like respect for this other realm that you don't necessarily want to go to or experience. And it can be very dark. It can be very draining. There's stories of people. One of the creepiest stories, and I don't remember, I don't have it in my book, but it's a story that always stuck with me. And it's a story of a guy who falls asleep on a fairy mound, and he wakes up in the other realm, and he's kind of confused as what's going on. And then he looks around, and everything's very beautiful. So that's kind of the first effect, is you get this like beautiful, everything's like shimmery and full of light, and there's beautiful music, and there's a huge feast laid out, and everybody just looks beautiful and enchanted, and they just treat you wonderfully, and they're like, dancing and waltzing with you, and it's just this great experience. And then you go and you eat a little of the food, and what happens is you never actually stop dancing. You keep dancing, and then you eat a little bit of the food, and then you're kind of trapped there. And then everybody kind of starts to look like raggedy and scary. And it kind of, it kind of reminds me of a party, or you're drinking, right? And you're just like, oh, everybody's having a great time, and they're having the first couple cocktails, and everything's nice. And then by the end of the night, someone's gotten in a fight. Someone's passed out on the floor. someone's thrown up in your kitchen sink, it's just like the glamour has worn off, right? And so I think that story is very similar to that. And then should you want to get back, it can be very difficult because the fairies don't want you to go, much like a mermaid wants you to stay with her. The fairies usually don't want you to go back. So yeah, it's definitely like a scary place, and it was visited for specific reasons, like trying to get wisdom or making an offering or seeking something out. So you didn't just go there willy-nilly. You went there specifically trying to enter into another world and gain wisdom there, much as you might think of a shaman going into a trance. That's also, and going into a dark space. You'd go into this cave and you would go into a kind of a trance meditation and then be able to actually enter the fairy realm that way.
Very true. Very true. But for people on this end, do you believe that a lot of the people who've gone missing and haven't returned have been led astray by the fairies?
Well, no, I don't believe that, actually. I don't think that I tend to think that that's probably more likely something human than and something much, much more dark and sinister than the fairy realm. However, I do think that people can get very disoriented, and the fairies can play on that, especially if you go traversing where you shouldn't be, or you kind of traipse into a part of the woods that you're not welcome. There's certainly trickery at play. Nature's tricky and fairies are tricky. So I think that can happen, but yeah, I'm not convinced that the fairies are just kidnapping, Joe Schmo willy-nilly here and there. I don't know what they would want with them.
Food? Do fairies eat people?
No. I mean, there's probably a few creatures that do kind of like, they enjoy the taste of human flesh, but by and large, that's not really what fairies do. They're not preying on us. They are tricking us, and they are trying to get things from us, and they are trying to give us things, but they're not necessarily hunting us. Unless you consider, some of the more vampiric creatures as part of the fairy kingdom. And actually there are a couple, I take that back. There's definitely a couple of creepy vampiric things. There's a Scottish vampire that is considered to be part of the fairy kingdom that will kind of appear much like a banshee and will drain the life out of you. And so that one hunts.
All right. Yeah. Brazelhoff is asking, do psychedelics help us breach the barrier to the fairy realm?
Oh, I would say yes. Yeah, they do. I think you have to use them responsibly. I don't think you just get to take them and boom, you're there. I think that with any kind of psychedelic or any kind of trance, anything that puts you into a trance of any kind, you need to do it safely and under supervision and with, a healthy respect and reverence for where you are. So if you go out into the woods and you drop acid, ain't no guarantee that anything's going to come to you, but, like a really big gash on your leg or something, right? So you just there's a sacredness to it that has to be respected in order to actually make that transition. But yeah, sure. I mean, that berries and mushrooms are, they go hand in hand.
All right. Okay. Do the fairies use portals, dimensions to travel in and out as well?
Yeah, I think so. Yes. Yeah.
Where would they
go? Where would they go?
Yeah.
I think they just go into the fairy kingdom. I think they just go, from their realm to ours. Just like if we were using it, we'd go to their realm. I think they just use the same doorways. only we don't fit in all their doorways. I just think that there are cross points where you can enter or exit, basically. So I think they're they exit and then re-enter, and we occasionally see them in that process and occasionally enter ourselves. But yeah.
Makes sense. Okay. So let's move on here in regards to, not only the fairy realm, but there's a bunch of little creatures running around. I mean, you think of the Puckwudgies and the Blackwater Triangle, you think of the Pookas, you think of the gnomes, you think of little trolls that are hiding under bridges. Do trolls really hide under bridges, or is that just a fairy tale legend?
Not all trolls are associated with bridges at all. In fact, there are Scandinavian trolls that are nowhere near bridges. They're on the tops of mountains, and they're beautiful and shimmery, much more like a Nephilim or something like that. That's how they're described. So I think the trolls under the bridge are guardians, and I think that they're associated with the bridge because they're guardians probably of the water or whatever's on the other side. So that story that we think of the three Billy Goats Gruff and stuff, that is actually based on the idea that there's something kind of guarding a bridge or that passage into that other realm. You have to pass through it, right? Like the question's 3 or whatever, but you have to actually pass through it and pass a test. And you see that all around the world in stories from around the world. There's a passage and a test thing going on there for sure. Wisdom, strength, bravery. You even think of Inanna's descent into the underworld, and basically she's like sent into the underworld. Some people say it's because she was going to deliver news to her sister. Other people say it was because she was looking for something, but her sister was basically the lord of the goddess of the underworld, and she had to go through all of these gates, and each time she had to shed something and lose something and battle for something, and in the end she gets all the way down to see her sister, and so she gets all the way through that portal all the way to the very bottom, and then the sister just turns her into a hanging corpse, even and then she just gets rescued by someone and gets out of it eventually. But that whole idea, I mean, that's an ancient myth, right? That whole idea of having to go through a portal and go through a gate and go through a passage and pass some tests. That is as old as time itself. And I think that the fairies are the gatekeepers and most of us won't pass that test. We just won't. We just won't keep our, for whatever reason, there'll be barriers and we won't be able to pass that test, just like the alien apocalypse.
That may be coming sooner than what we think. That one may be coming. We don't know. All depends what the American government decides to give us. But you better get caught up on the aliens regarding that.
I know. I gotta get caught up. Or maybe I just want to be blissfully ignorant when it happens. Just go with the flow, Yeah.
Once again, tune in to Dave 101 later on tonight, and you'll hear Dave's opinion on that.
Take me to a leader.
But okay, speaking of these little creatures, one creature we do not hear a lot of, maybe since the 80s because of the movies, is gremlins.
Yeah, I didn't find a lot about gremlins when I was researching my whole fairy book, and I really had this whole section about more kind of trickstery, house-dwelling little troublemakers, and gremlins really didn't. Things that were similar to gremlins and things that sounded kind of like gremlins, that would terrorize your animals or your children or whatever, especially if you weren't giving them what they wanted, yummy treats and stuff. With that movie, right? You pour water on them, and wasn't that what it was? If you got them wet, they just became these. They were all cute and cuddly, and you got them wet, and they became these horrible things. I've never found anything that is actually really ties in directly to that. So I don't know what the deal is with that. but certainly some embellishment there. But there are definitely like little hobgoblins and things like that kind of, there's nothing about pouring water on them, but there is this kind of similar, like could be sweet and then could completely terrorize you, especially if you do one thing wrong. So in the movie, it's pouring water on them, but in an old story, it might be that you didn't sweep the floor and you left some like rotten oats out instead of a nice cake. So.
Well, I always think in World War II, we always heard of the gremlins that were messing with the planes on the ground. And pilots and aircrew used to say that when their plane wasn't flying right, the gremlins had been working on their airplanes and not or trying to tamper with them. And I look at little legends like that. How much stock can we put into that?
Well, I think all of those legends have an element of truth in them. And I've found that to be more and more true the more that I've read, because there's certain similarities. But, that kind of thing, calling it a gremlin, what you might call technical difficulties today, calling it a bog monster or, Jenny Green Teeth, but it could also be a big stick and a bog that you could sink in because it just looks like the ground continues. So sometimes those things are cautionary tales, right? But the way I look at it is it's kind of the same thing, right? Like if a mermaid is oxygen deprivation and it's something that you see just before you die in the water, then how is that any different than it being a mermaid? You see it before you see it before you die. So if it's a gremlin, actually you can't catch this little fuzzy thing, but it's still this thing that's messing with it. That I think is the fairy kingdom and the fairy realm. They live in that kind of world of what if, and they don't really care what you call them, and they don't really care if you believe in them, because they're still out there doing their thing. And sometimes it's good stuff, and sometimes it's really messing with you, stealing your things.
Mondag says, as a retired aircraft maintainer, we still fight gremlins.
Yeah, I bet.
I'm curious to know if he's seen them fiddling with airplanes. And what is it about airplanes that gremlins do not like? Because everything that we do, I mean, the Navy has their own, and people who sail the waters of the world have their own superstitions. Airplanes and mechanics and pilots all have their own superstitions. Let's get into superstitions a little bit here, because there are so many people out there, from actors and actresses to athletes to professionals like doctors or pilots or people sailing, where they are very superstitious people. Where does this even come from?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think superstitions on the one hand exist to keep us safe, definitely, right? Because some of them have very practical origins. And I'll just take a modern one, for example. This isn't particularly mystical, but it's pretty practical. So we all think if you open an umbrella indoors, it's bad luck, right? Like everyone has heard that, I'm assuming. I've heard it since, I think I learned that on Sesame Street when I was a kid. Don't open an umbrella indoors, it's bad luck. Well, why is it bad luck? Why is that a superstition that we all just follow, like walking under a ladder, whatever? It's like, these things that are the mirror and the 7 years. Well, the umbrella has very practical origins. When the umbrella was invented, the tips of it was extremely sharp. It was basically a weapon. And if you were to open it indoors, you would hurt someone. Like you could actually poke the mayor's wife's eye out or something. So it became actually bad etiquette to open it indoors. And because it became bad etiquette, then eventually it became, bad luck, because if you had bad etiquette, then everybody would look at you sideways and not invite you to the dinner party. So then you had bad luck, right? So then it just became this thing that now we just repeat as a superstition that we don't even necessarily know why, but kind of like we were talking about with the fairies, it's like, well, I'm not going to I don't believe in them, but I'm not going to cut that tree down. Well, lots of us would say, I'm just going to not walk under that ladder, or I'm going to, not break that mirror, if I can help it. So there's just little things like that where we know in like modern times where the superstitions come from.
Are you superstitious?
I'm pretty superstitious. I think so. I mean, I have a lot of like rituals and things that I do. But I also, I can convince myself of just about anything. So I can talk myself out of something if I'm really afraid of it. I'm not afraid of cats, black cats. I love black cats. So
your son being a goaltender, I will guarantee you he is superstitious.
Yeah, he probably doesn't even like, I'm sure he has little rituals that I don't know about because, not allowed in the locker room anymore. They kicked me out of the locker room.
No kidding. But no, we all do. And, I mean, I knew hockey players. I mean, they called it a ritual. Okay. But I knew hockey players, they always had to put their gear on the exact same way. If back when I played, I knew that if we were going into a game that was going to be really, really rough, because there were, in a team, when you play on a team with full of tough guys, there are a lot of teams who want to come and play tough against you. And if I knew we were heading into one of those games, I had to drive to the rink playing Skid Row's Slave to the Grind. I needed that adrenaline rush in order to go in.
Yeah. Oh, there's so many there's so many quirky little superstitions in sports, especially. And those would be not even people who wouldn't even consider themselves like, particularly woo at all. Right. But just like, I don't know why, but I've got to touch this side and then put this sock on and this sock on. That's it. I'm never doing it different.
That's the way it goes. Mondak says maintainers of aircraft are some of the most superstitious people around. Kind of like first responders. You never say a night is going good or aircraft will land with no mechanical issues. I mean, there's just certain things you don't do. And I think all of us, one way or another, have our little superstitions. I think we do.
I think so too. I think it's like an ingrained part of us. But I will say that, superstitions are often lumped in with something called old wives' tales. And I found that by and large, when you dissect a lot of those types of things, they have very practical origins as well and are actually usually really good advice and are sometimes kind of dismissed as being like a superstition. But yeah, definitely. I know that there's quite a bit of suspicion in superstition in my family, just little things that people do that they won't even admit to, that they wouldn't even think are really superstitions. But then when someone says, why do you do it that way? Oh, because that's why it always goes well. That's why I always find a parking space. Like, those people that have that little poem they say, and then they find a parking space. I can never remember the poem. That's a little superstition too. It's like a little ritual.
I have to brush my teeth before every show.
Yeah, me too.
So it is. I want fresh breath before I go on the air. We got Varla Ventura for another 30 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio. VarlaVentura.net. You can find all of her books at any major bookstore. At the bottom of the hour, it's Dave 101. We'll get to you next. Hi, Grant Tavius. How you doing, buddy? Good to see you.
Dave, you need a toothpaste sponsor. Wouldn't that be great? Since I brush my teeth before every show with Dr. JoJo's amazing charcoal paste.
I try not to be superstitious, but I can't help it.
I always brush my teeth too, Dave. Even if I'm not on even like just a radio, just all audio. I just it's like there's. And I remember you told me that real early on, and I thought I do that too. Like it's just something about it. It makes you. I don't know. It's just you're gonna talk. You should be talking to people. You should have fresh breath.
Oh, very true. Very true. You know, let's see, what else do I do now that I think about it?
I do a lot of like specific candle things that like you might think of as just like magic or ritual, but I think they're also very, very rooted in superstition. Like just certain things that I do on certain days. Definitely. Like
Yeah.
I feel bad if I let a new moon go by without, taking advantage of it.
No, I agree. I'm just trying to think here. Like even with my son, I always tie his left skate first.
Oh yeah?
Always left skate first. You know, he's still at the age where he can get himself like 3/4 dressed.
Yeah.
You know,
Totally.
he can't tie his own skates yet.
No, well, my son could, except for that he has so much equipment on, he can't really reach them by the time he does it. So it's like, and you know what? You're right, because he has an order that he likes to put everything on, and it's pretty specific. And then he usually, it's very like this, and then I do this, and then I do this, and then I do this.
Oh yeah. I used to love going to the rink, and then just all of a sudden I get that butterfly feeling like it's time. And Slave to the Grind would come on.
I've asked you this before, but what position did you play mostly?
When I played minor hockey, I played right wing.
Okay.
And then when I played senior men's, I played a little bit of right wing, but mostly defense.
Isn't it cool that you can tell me that and I actually know what you're talking about? 4 years ago, I would not have known what any of those things are, but now I do.
We had this psychopath of a goaltender named Randy St. Cyr. and
Don't remember his name.
Oh yeah. He was a nut bar and damn good goalie. And God, every friggin' game, man. Every game it was on with him. And I don't know how many times I would have to, he would, goaltender stick someone between the legs or cross check someone in the back, and they'd turn and hit him, and then I got to get in between.
Then your job is
I got to get in there, and I had to, all of a sudden, here we go.
Yep.
Here we go. And it was fun because back then we didn't even wear visors.
Okay. Just you didn't have the cage thing.
No,
the helmet.
Just a helmet.
Yeah.
And a mouth guard. I remember I skated at this one guy.
At least you had mouth guards.
I probably the most painful back then, like now everybody uses carbon sticks, but back then a lot of guys used aluminum shaft sticks.
Uh-oh.
And I remember I was coming up, guy takes a shot, sees me, I'm about to hit him, and he goes bang.
Oh.
And it hit me right across the throat. And right across, no, it came this way, right across the throat and right across my chin. I just went boom.
Oh God.
That was pretty cool. That was fun.
And you just got up, or
no
concussion?
No, this is exactly what happened. We played him again, probably a month and a half later. And when I played, I was kind of a grudge holder. Okay. So I skate up to the guy, and
I respect grudge holders. I really do.
There was a fight on the ice. I skate up to him, and he goes, and I said, dude, we got to go now. I said, he goes, why? I said, because you cross-checked me in the face, and it hurt. So I didn't like that. Like, we got to go now. And he's like, dude, you're an idiot. He said, I'm not fighting you. He goes, our sisters used to be friends in high school. I've known you since you were like this big. I'm like, oh, fuck, okay.
Aw. He
Didn't
talked you out of it. That's nice.
Uh,
It's like, we're not going to fight. Come on, we're buddies.
oh, God. Yeah, I had to bought him a beer. What do you do?
Yeah.
Arlene is like, did Varla just try to hide a yawn?
I might have. I was drinking my water behind a glass like this.
And then she went, oh. All right, 23 seconds. Thank you to Rex, Spooky, Dirt Road Times 2, and Chris for the amazing super chats. Really do appreciate it. Your questions, get them in there. Put them in capital letters.
But don't ask things like that.
Yeah. All right.
I did get up very, very early today at an ungodly hour before the sun even came up, and it was horrible.
Here we go.
Horrible.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for joining us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives, youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. We want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives, once again, are free, so check them on out. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Catabothrin. Catabothrin is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, once again, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot, reading Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. For the final time tonight, we introduce Varla Ventura. VarlaVentura.net is her website, so you're going to want to check that on out. Find her books at any major bookstore across this great continent. Varla, welcome back.
Actually, worldwide. My books are available worldwide. Yeah, the worldwide world.
Absolutely. Wide world.
Probably easier to find in North America, but they're available worldwide.
Oh. Well, Zero Cool is asking, are these real words or are y'all just making crap up? No, the Desert Clam actually makes up the password. And he actually goes into the dictionary or wherever, and he picks out some word trying to screw me up each and every night. That's what the Clam does, and then he posts them. And we got to read it. All right, look at Jason. Loving this show. Varla has the smile of a queen.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you.
All right.
See, we need a toothpaste sponsor.
Julie says, I once used the password unwisely. PTSD, just don't.
Yes, because you are to use it wisely at all times.
Well, you know what's funny? Everybody always asks, especially new listeners, what's the password for? Our answer is exactly.
The speakeasy, guys. That's how you get in the door.
Well, I'll let you figure out that riddle then. You'll be up all night thinking about that riddle. What's the password for? Exactly. That's the way we do it. All right, we've talked gremlins. We've talked ghost
Mermaids,
sex.
Ghost sex.
I got a new gnome.
I thought so. I thought I saw a new gnome back there, and I was doing like this weird peeking thing as if I was looking through your window, but it's yeah. Aw, it's soft. It's a plush.
So 2 weeks ago, I'm doing the show. My daughter opens up my studio door
Oh, no.
and throws this at me while I'm on the air. It's got some weird stuff.
I
Like-
love that she did that to you.
Like cereal.
Did you get it? Like, did you catch it? Or
No, it startled me. I didn't know what was coming at me. Right?
oh, it's so cute. Does it
It
have a
is.
name? Yeah.
I haven't given it a name yet. But anyways, we got some audience questions here. Brazelhoff is wondering if you could go over duendes and brownies, please and thank you.
Yes. Okay. So they're somewhat similar, but from different parts of the world. So the duende is from kind of like Central Mexico and Central America. And they may also be in South America. In fact, I think I had a friend from Ecuador who, actually he did talk about duendes, particularly in that area as well. So, and brownies are traditionally from the UK and parts of Scotland and Wales. And so a brownie is a house dwelling, sort of elfy type animal. Sometimes they're also called hobgoblins or dobbies or dobies, which the dobby in Harry Potter is based on the idea of this little like house elf. The way it's described in that book is quite different than how it appears in a lot of folklore, but essentially it's a little creature that lives in your house, or it might live in your barn, and it kind of, you just give it offerings, you feed it regularly, and the secret is you have to do your part. It will help and protect your crops. It will also help you keep your house tidy and clean, and sometimes they'll even like clean the kitchen for you, but you have to give it regular offerings. Like every night you have to give it good food. You cannot just leave it scraps, and you can't be lazy. So there's a great story, and I actually included sort of a retelling of it in my book about this brownie that gets really mad because there's like a scullery maid or something, and the scullery maid starts working at this house, and the house has a brownie, and she's like really stoked because, you know, it's going to make her job a lot easier. But after a while, she gets lazy and she doesn't like sweep the floor or do her part. And so eventually the brownie gets really mad, gets really fed up pretty quickly, actually, after that behavior, and throws the coals all over the kitchen and just thrashes everything and makes everything worse, and then disappears and never comes back. And so in duendes, I believe that duendes are also kind of similar in that they can be protective spirits. They can be a little bit trickstery, but they can be kind of a domestic, for lack of a better term, a domestic type of fairy that actually like to interact and thrive on interaction with humans, but not necessarily in a way of like, oh, I'm going to trick you into the fairy realm, like that changeling kind of thing. More in a harmonious, I want to, you know, like not a pet, because they're not pets, but the way that like cats choose to live around us, right? Like, yes, we think that we are going and picking the cats out, but the cats are choosing whether or not to tolerate us. And if they don't like us, they'll just pee all over everything, right? So
as per usual.
Yeah.
Very nice.
As hoping, you know, will happen on Black Friday.
Oh, once again, this is our friendly reminder to all of our American followers that next week is Black Friday. We hope you are preparing well. Okay, turn your cameras horizontally. Do not keep them vertical. We need the full scene. We need biting, fighting, pinching, slapping, kicking. All right. I want to see teeth on the ground. I want to see both adults and children crying. I want those videos, people. Go hard. Go hard.
Shop till you drop.
Exactly. Literally. Literally. All right. Remember, you just gave thanks. Now give thanks with your fists, your feet. All right.
And the almighty dollar.
Tape up those knuckles, people. Make sure your credit card is at zero balance, because we're going to go hard on Black Friday. Hard. All right. Third phase of moon. Hey, guys, the Cousins brothers from Hawaii. Good to see you guys in the chat room. Do you think mermaids have a reaction to lunar eclipses?
Ooh, good question, because we're like entering into a lunar eclipse like right now, I think, or pretty soon, the next hour or so. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Because as humans are, the ocean is greatly affected by the moon and the gravitational pull of the moon. It's what creates the tides and the ebb and flow. And so in turn, mermaids are affected by the moon. And of course, lunar eclipses would have to, because you think about that. What is that? Is it a Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's court where the modern guy goes back in time and he goes back to King Arthur and he predicts an eclipse, and everybody thinks that he's like this, he says, I'm going to turn the world off or whatever. I'm going to turn the lights out. And then he becomes this like revered person in that world because he made this amazing thing happen, blotted out I think that was this solar eclipse. But yeah, I mean, definitely, I would say we're all affected by the moon and its cycles, and certainly the full moon. Ask any first responder out there, and they will. Anyone who's ever worked in a hospital, anyone who's ever worked in intake or dispatch, and they'll attest. Prisons. Yep.
My sister's been a corrections officer for over 30 years.
Oh, wow.
And she never, ever bought into any type of superstition. She's like a five senses type person. Uh-huh. And when she first started as a guard, she said all the old timers would be careful, because my sister's very petite. She's only like 5'4", maybe 105 pounds. She's tiny. And all the old guards, because she was a very small woman working in a man's jail, would be like, hey, you got to be careful here, but watch out for the full moons. That's when you got to be extra careful. She never bought into that until she actually saw, a lot of the prisoners at night going absolutely haywire on full moons.
Full moons, yeah. Wow. Yes, it's definitely a thing. And so you can imagine that just even thinking of how people react to a full moon and then having that like pause as the full moon light is actually gone for 3 minutes or however long it is, that certainly is gonna affect a mermaid, a magical creature, if more so, than probably even a human. I think.
I don't know.
You think humans would be more affected? Yeah.
I just don't get it. I know it affects animals, wild animals.
Yeah, sure.
Mondex says, yes, it sucks working corrections during a full moon.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, I mean, that is something that, you have to be aware of. I mean, that kind of ties into the whole superstition thing as well, does it not?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think that some of the idea of the werewolves transforming on the full moon certainly comes from our own innate behavior. I mean, do you sleep as well on the night of a full moon? I don't. Sometimes I forget, and I'm like, oh yeah, the moon's full. Like, yeah, that's why I can't sleep.
Never bothered me.
Really?
Really?
Well, you must have really, good curtains.
Actually, I actually sleep with my blinds open.
Do you?
Yeah.
And it doesn't bother you? Well, you're definitely you're not a werewolf, so I think we can
What bothers me is the church across the green belt put up new security lights, and they shine really bright. They didn't put the reflectors down, and it shines right into my yard.
That's super annoying.
In my window.
Oh, yeah.
There's a couple reasons why I actually sleep with the blinds open. Just in case Carl shows back up, I want to see him. I can literally see constellations from my bedroom, and I like looking at the stars. And you never know if there's been enough people who have visited my house who have woken up in the middle of the night and seen lights flickering on my yard that I'm afraid I might miss something.
That's a good reason. Yeah.
That's why I keep my blinds open at night. You never know when Carl is going to show up, and you never know when all of a sudden you see lights. Like even my mother-in-law, this about 9-10 months ago, she woke up and she went to the bathroom. It was about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. And where our spare bedroom was, there's a big window that overlooks our backyard. And she actually saw strobe lights. And she walked up to the window and she saw that the strobe lights were coming down onto our yard. And then they kind of turned blue and they went into across the green belt and were flashing down onto the concrete at the community hall, which is right across the green belt from me.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty cool. That's a good reason to sleep with your blinds open.
Yeah. You never know.
I do not sleep with my blinds open.
You probably sleep in a coffin.
I mean, that's a little tight.
I can see that.
Yeah, I mean.
You have friends who sleep in coffins.
I do. Yeah. And I certainly did when I was younger. I knew more than one person who slept in a coffin and a few people who slept in other very strange things like cages and stuff. But these days, I don't know. I think the vampires that I know, like, really nice, luxurious king-sized beds with, velvet shams and such. We've grown up a bit. But yeah, I mean, I know. I've actually never slept in. I've been in a coffin, but I've never slept in one. I don't think I could. I have a bit of claustrophobia, actually. So I think I would be like a little too. I don't like things on my face.
I just don't understand how somebody could do that. I mean,
in a coffin?
Yeah. Honestly, just even talking about the topic here, I could feel the anxiety growing in my
Maybe
stomach.
it has the same effect on some people that swaddling has on babies. You know how like they say like swaddle your baby super tight, and like my son did not like that. Actually, they would like wrap him up like this tight little thing, and then he would just kick and kick and kick until it all he could kick it off. And then it would get tangled. It was like, well, either I didn't do that right or, we're going to not swallow you. But for some kids, I've seen those videos, the happiest baby on the block, and you swaddle them and they instantly stop crying. So maybe for some people, that's a comfort. What brings you anxiety may bring comfort to others. I don't think I would, it's not psychologically, I wouldn't want to sleep in it because of like, it's a coffin, it's going to be my deathbed. It's more the just small space. Also, this is getting personal, but I actually am a stomach sleeper, and that's real hard in a
Me too.
coffin.
Me too.
So
I am a stomach side sleeper.
So coffins, not so much.
No.
Not really.
All right. Have you ever? Chris Mo wants to know if you've ever been in a light deprivation tank.
Actually, I have not been in a sensory deprivation tank, but just a couple of months ago, two really close friends of mine visited, and I've included he's my friend Pirate Chris, and I include his stories a lot. He's the one who lives on that property with the thing that moaned in the woods that like came, the sound that came like reverberating up the valley and shook his cabin. He's told me lots of scary, really good stories. But anyway, they came recently and they said that they had found this place. It's in the town where we all grew up, where my parents still live in California. And they said, there's this place and you do this like sensory deprivation thing. And I said, didn't you just feel like completely, like, wouldn't that kind of drive you? I think I have it gives you anxiety being in the idea of being in a coffin. The thing that freaked me out was the idea of it being what they did is they did a separate sensory deprivation tank. It's dark, and then it's like super, super, super saline water. So you float basically like right on top of the water. You don't have a thing over your head. They said it was just like you were kind of in this like tank enclosed space, and it's completely dark. And you can have it silent, or they'll play music for you, and you can have lights on, but they chose to do it in all darkness. And you just lay there, and like your mind, it's just your mind. It's like a meditation. And I think that probably many times in my life that would have actually been a trigger for me. Like I would have just like been too infinite. I think I probably am ready to do that at this stage in my life, where like I could actually trust my mind to not take me somewhere I don't want to, I can't come back from. But I think that idea of it being really infinite, it can be, and it's kind of intimidating to me, of like actually having all of those senses removed. But then I started thinking could be like really relaxing, right? Because all you have is, I know that when I write, I can't have I'm not a writer I don't have music on in the background. I need it like, I can't have any distractions. So,
Right.
So that I can tap into that part of my brain. So maybe I, hit all those plot points. Have you ever done one?
Yeah. My guru's Pascal, and some of my audience may know this story, but so we only got about 2 minutes left. He actually created a sensory deprivation room in his house. And we blocked out all the lights. He put garbage bag over garbage bag over garbage bag over garbage bag over the windows to seal it on out. And we were sitting 3 feet apart in that room, could not see each other. I found it very relaxing. The only thing that we saw together, and we did it 3 times, the only thing that we saw together was that first time we actually saw a solar system open up right above us.
Whoa.
And we were actually watching these little specks of orbs, like the tip of a pen, okay, shooting off in all different directions and everything like that. It was phenomenal. It was one
now,
of the,
were you talking, or did you just discuss it?
No, we were talking.
Okay.
We were
Okay.
talking.
That's amazing.
We were in communication, and the ghosts that were coming through, and
Oh.
the other things, it was funny. Like you couldn't see your hand right in front of your face.
How long did you go in there for?
We did, I think the first time was an hour and a half.
Wow.
Yeah, like we went hard on it, and I recommend it.
Okay.
I recommend it.
I'm convinced. I'm gonna do it. I'm totally gonna do it. That's
totally.
You convinced me.
Varla, we got 45 seconds.
Oh.
Take that time to tell our audience where they can find your books, your website, and your new YouTube channel.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Everything's Varla Ventura. So varlaventura.net is my website. And then, I don't know, I think my YouTube channel is just Varla Ventura. We were trying to find it earlier. I'm on all the social things as, at Varla Ventura. And yeah, you can go onto my website. And if you scroll down, there should be a place where you can sign up for a newsletter. So I'm still working on some actual cool stories that I can send out every month or so, just little bonus material. And yeah, you can also buy swag like the cool hat that Dave is wearing. You can get that. That's the Varla Ventura logo there. You can get that on my store there. Yep. Thanks for having me, Dave.
Thank you for coming on in. Want to say a big thanks to Varla Ventura. Coming up next, are we ready for aliens? Dave 101 next on Spaced Out Radio. Stay tuned. You got to get up early.
I don't have to get up early tomorrow.
No?
No. I did have to get up early today, though, and it was horrible. Someone else is giving him a ride tomorrow, so we're okay. So wait, I have another question for you about
Yeah.
the sensory deprivation. So
Yeah.
it just was a room that was completely
We
like,
we made
was it
we made it
temperature
as
controlled? Like what was
no,
in
we
there?
had
What'd
it
you
was
sit
regular.
on?
We had regular room temperature.
Okay.
The
Is
big
it
thing,
regular room sized?
yeah, like an apartment bedroom.
Okay. Okay.
And what we did was we blacked everything out, like pitch black.
Okay.
Like the when we walked through the apartment, we made sure every light was off, not even a night light. All the blinds were
Okay.
closed
Okay.
and
So the
everything. So
rest of the house was also dark, so none of the lights
yeah,
would bleed through.
exactly. So
Okay.
and then what we did was we sealed the doorway. So all the cracks along the doorway, we sealed those up with towels, and we blocked
Hmm.
every
You really got
uh
to trust someone to do that, huh?
well, we had Pascal was on a chair, I was on a chair, and I mean, we tripped, let's be honest. And when you turn the light on, it screws you up. Hey
Oh
Kev, how you
yeah,
doing, buddy? Hold on here. Who
that's
else showed up?
amazing.
Crunch time. How you doing, bud? And I think that's about it. But yeah, the stuff that was coming through and the communication we were making was amazing.
Wow.
Amazing. Like I remember looking, the one cool part was I remember looking down to my left and I actually saw my deceased dog sitting there beside
Oh,
me. And then there was
wow.
another time this creepy old man face, I could only see a side profile. It would come out like this, and then it
Ugh.
would move back, and then like this, and then he'd move back. But the weird part about it is what I was seeing, Pascal wasn't,
Except for that first time with the solar system thing.
except the solar system right above us,
Huh.
right?
So was he seeing completely different things?
Completely different
And then
things.
were you guys talking and you're like, there's a creepy dude next to me right now.
Yeah,
And he's like, I
yeah,
don't see that, but I see a creepy lady or whatever.
it was full communication.
Whoa, that's so cool. Yeah. Fun experiment.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, look, you're not getting rid of your eyesight. You're not getting rid of your hearing. You're not getting like we didn't play any meditation music or anything like that. It was all about breathing
Yeah.
and opening up ourselves to
And
whatever
the
wanted to
incident.
show us.
Yeah, to see
Yeah,
what would
it
happen.
was it was incredible. Like no cell phones, nothing. Like we didn't take cell phones in there. There was no watches, no nothing.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah, you wouldn't want any of that to
Yeah,
interfere.
yeah, it was fantastic.
Cool. Oh, well that and now I'm definitely feeling more comfortable with the idea. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. It's
I'll
not as
especially
dangerous.
when I go.
I recommend it. I would
Well,
love to do it again.
I actually love the idea of the one that you like float in warm, salty water because then you also don't have then you're actually kind of depriving yourself of those like the way he described it was you're kind of depriving yourself of a lot of the like body aches and pains and it takes you about 20 minutes to
Yeah,
really let your muscles go and relax and know that this water is just going to like hold you and you're not going to sink and you're just going to like be able to relax. He said it took him a surprising amount of time, but then when he did, he didn't want it to end. Yeah.
well, like I said, I had a good time uh,
Cool.
with it. So I think it would be
Sensory
fantastic.
deprivation in Vegas, or we're
Well,
going the other
I,
way.
I don't know what we could do
We're going
in.
the other way.
Yeah, I don't know, but we'll figure it
We're
out.
going with sensory saturation.
Why not?
Yep.
Why not?
Yep.
Varla Ventura, by the way, will end up in Vegas with us
Yeah.
when we have
When we
the
go.
SOR party. She is going.
Real
She's
life.
locked and loaded.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
pretty awesome.
You'll be able to see my tail.
You have a tail?
Yeah, I thought you knew that.
I don't know that. You seriously have a tail?
No.
That would be weird. All right, Varla, I got to go do my Dave 101.
Yep. I'm going to sign off and I'll pop over and listen to it. I can't wait to hear what you're going to say. Okay.
Good night.
Love you. Thank you. Good night.
Bye. We rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. I want to remind you that if you miss portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on TikTok. It's brand new at Spaced Out Radio, at Spaced Out Radio on Twitter, and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show.
It's time for Dave 101.
I have pondered for a long, long time whether or not we as human beings, even those involved in the UFO community, are ready for extraterrestrial contact. Are we ready for disclosure? Are we ready to know whether or not the extraterrestrial phenomena is very real as you and me? And I keep coming to the same conclusion. That answer is not on your life. Now, let me explain why. For the last week, here in British Columbia, we have been dealing with flooding, mudslides. In fact, almost every route to the coast near Vancouver to get to my house, where SOR headquarters is shut down. 5 different highways to get to from Vancouver to where I live, all shut down due to washouts, due to mudslides. It's an incredible natural disaster that has happened here. Happened 31 years ago when I lived in my hometown of Abbotsford. People will always come together. People will always help. There are good people on this planet. But here's what I have learned. There is no way in what I have seen over the last 2 years that humanity is anywhere close to dealing with a real major life-changing issue like extraterrestrials. Sure, we can be in denial that, those aliens aren't here. No, they're not even existent. They're demons. They're whatever. You've been watching too many sci-fi movies. I get the point. But let me explain something. This is what I have seen in this past week. Where I live at SOR headquarters, all of our grocery chains are empty in their shelves. People are hoarding food, hoarding supplies, hoarding everything that they can get their hands on because there's no food. Vancouver's been cut off. There's no food. While these exact same morons forget that all the highways to Alberta and east to the rest of Canada are still open. And a bunch of the highways south of us in this beautiful country that we call the United States of America are open. And they have food as well. They have toilet paper. They have Metamucil. They have hygiene products, toothbrushes. They have apples, oranges, grapefruit, lettuce, tomatoes, and even food for the vegans. But here's my point. Twice now in the last couple of years, we have seen the absolute worst in humanity. People hoarding food, toilet paper, supplies, as I just said, not willing to help out their fellow human being because it's a free-for-all on trying to survive. Ladies and gentlemen who live in British Columbia, who are hoarding all of the food and all of the gas at the gas stations, guess what? There's more coming. We are not even close to being out of food. We're not even close to being out of gasoline. We're not even close of being out of anything. Why? Because the supply lines are open. It's the exact same thing that happened during COVID when the idiots went out there and started hoarding toilet paper, taking 8-10-gallon jugs of milk for themselves. In the meantime, a single mother or an elderly person who couldn't get to the store on time had zero food to eat. It has been a disgusting display of humanity. How does this tie to aliens? Well, let me tell you. COVID has not been a major problem. Now, a lot of people will disagree with me on that. And I'm saying this, I am not a person who is an anti-vaxxer. I am for open choice. I am not a COVID denier because I've known people who have had it. And my cousin is a doctor, one of the smartest disease specialists in Canada. And I've talked to him. I don't watch the media when it comes to this crap. Okay? But there was no need to shut everything down for COVID. There was still food. There was still power. There was still cable. There was still internet. There was still medicine. There were still doctors. But we panicked. As a society, we panicked that we were going to run out of food, that we were going to run out of water, that we were going to run out of supplies. And if we didn't get them now, to hell with everybody else, we're going to get our stuff. We're going to stock up. We're going to be the people who can live off the land because our cellars are stocked. Taking all the canned food that they can. Taking all the beverages that will last, from Coca-Cola to apple juice and every water jug in between. To hell with the neighbor. I'm taken care of. All right. Now we get to the flooding. The flooding here, we've seen the exact same replay as we saw COVID. And these idiots who are going to the grocery stores and literally ripping food from people who need it because I need to take home 4 bags of apples. No, you don't. They're going to go bad. I need to take home 8 gallons of milk. No, you don't. Milk will go bad by then. Nobody drinks that much milk unless you have children. And yet there's single moms out there, single dads out there, elderly people who cannot get their supplies. All right? We cannot take advantage of that, and we have been. So then if we add in the fact that we are going to have a real world problem, and right now it looks like there's going to be something very serious coming within the United States government. Why? They're starting to talk extraterrestrials. ETs lead to disclosure. We hope. And if that information starts to come out, as I have stated on this show numerous times, and I will repeat it again for Dave 101, humanity is not ready for the second biggest story in our history. It is not. Look at the way we've treated people. What are we going to do when an alien civilization arrives on this planet? Things are about to get real. Potentially. It's going to affect the economies. It's going to affect the stock markets. It's going to affect every single religion on this planet. It's going to affect the paranoid. It's going to affect the sick. It's going to affect those who panic and those who are calm. Because just like an asteroid that is on trajectory for Earth, we are not prepared. I don't think anybody is really understanding the magnitude of what's going to happen if it does. If the government of the United States comes out and says, ladies and gentlemen, the extraterrestrials are real and they are coming, that changes the entire ball game of history. How long have they been here? How long have they greeted humankind? Did they help build this planet? It opens up a plethora of questions. Let's not forget, half this planet is still praying to one of the 5,000 religious deities on this planet. And many of those religions believe that anything from the sky is demonic and part of Armageddon. We are going to get those who panic, who are just not going to care anymore. And they will do what they feel they need to do because the aliens are coming. I'm not trying to preach doom and gloom here. But over the last couple of years, we've really, as human beings, painted that picture against ourselves. By the way we've treated people, by the way we have torn each other apart, whether it's politically, whether it's emotionally, whether it's medically. And we have also learned that when disaster strikes, whether it's forest fires, tornadoes, flooding, avalanches, mudslides, it's all for one and one for all. But the problem is we forgot the one for all. You're on your own. Sure, you may have your little clique that you are going to be in your bubble with, that you're going to take care of each other at all times. But for the rest of the population, we've become uncaring. We've had a failure of understanding what it's like to be a human being. It's not fun. It's not fun to think about. And our maturity levels as a species have definitely eroded over the last couple of years. So if everybody here thinks that I'm ready for aliens, I'm ready for disclosure, I am ready for whatever the extraterrestrials bring, chances are you're not. Chances are you're not prepared. And that is potentially a brand new reality that is coming. We see Bill Nelson from NASA talking about extraterrestrials. High government officials in alphabet programs using the word extraterrestrially. They believe something is flying these craft, whether it's the Tic Tacs, the discs, the cigar-shaped objects, and they believe it's potentially from space. What are you going to do? How are you going to react? And if you have taken part in a natural disaster, or if you're one of the idiots out there who's been hoarding food, diapers, beverages because of COVID, because of other natural disasters, shame on you. You're not ready. You're not ready to be a human. You're not ready to be someone who is helpful on this planet. You only care about yourselves, maybe your family, and a couple of friends. It's not the way to do this thing. Especially when disaster strikes or aliens land. We got to be in this thing together. We can only hope that any extraterrestrial contact that has happened or going to happen is of a beneficial nature and a benevolent nature. We can only hope. We hope that it's not like the movie Independence Day, where they're coming to annihilate us, maybe use us for slaves and food. Because I can tell you right now, old Davy here, he would be food. And I'm not ready to be an alien's meal or see my children put into slavery from any extraterrestrial species. But we have to wake up as a society. We have to wake up as humanity. We have to wake up as an individual person. Because this treating each other like crap and not helping out, it's gone too far. We've pushed way too many buttons. And sure, the old saying, sharing is caring, it may sound mundane when everything is so deep and so hurtful and resentful today. And we don't know who to believe due to the mainstream media or the media that is of the alternative nature. How about we just start thinking for ourselves? Can we do that? Do we remember how to use that giant noodle in our brain that says, hey, this is the right thing to do, and this is the wrong thing to do? We're allowed to do what's right. We're allowed to help people. We are allowed to help people prepare. And when someone is down and destitute, damn it, pick them up and help them. It's not that hard. We shouldn't even have to preach this. This shouldn't be just a natural upkeep for your fellow citizen and your fellow brother and sister, regardless of their race, their political affiliation, their sexuality, their religion. Who cares? They're breathing just like you, and their blood is the same color. So do I have hope that humans are ready for anything bigger like extraterrestrials? Not a chance. Because we can't do it during a pandemic. We can't do it during some sort of natural phenomena. And we're not ready to do it for aliens. That's your thought of the Dave and your Dave 101. Let's get to Shirky Poo's news. All right, let's get to Shirky Poo's news here. I'm going to start off with a real cool one. As a man hiked last month through the lush terrains of Waipio, a town in Hawaii's Oahu Island, a pungent stench suddenly wafted past him. It was one of nature and one of beauty. Smelled like alcohol, coming from a nearby stream about 120 feet below the freeway. Concerned about the possible environmental implications, he contacted Carol Cox, a local activist and advocate who runs a nonprofit EnviroWatch. The man described the smell as being horrific. Cox said he and a few colleagues visited the scene and soon after noticed that a storm drain that poked out from underneath the freeway expelled water down a cliff and into a stream. On the other side of the busy street was a warehouse for one of the state's largest distributors of alcohol and liquor. Cox reported the findings to the government officials who identified the source as Paradise Beverages, according to emails. Yeah, the company is cooperating. Anthony Rowe, the director of operations, says it may be coming from us, so that's why we're working with proper authorities. This guy could have got a big boost on beverages. The creek, the waterway, it was testing at 1.2% alcohol. So about the same case as American beer. Cox said he was not surprised by the striking stench near the beverage company of Waipo, which is about 15 miles northwest of Honolulu. He said that kind of thing is commonplace in Hawaii. In the past, he found streams contaminated with paint and cement. There's a lack of respect for the land and water. Even though we preach it, we don't practice what we preach. Did you take a drink, Mr. Cox? Maybe we should all That's how we'll clean it up. We'll just go have some drinks there. All right, moving on. Well, highways and roads have been shut down in an Australian island for the annual occurrence, the migration of millions of red crabs. The red crabs of Christmas Island migrate every autumn from their homes on the island to the ocean, and many highways and roads are shut down to protect the traveling animals from vehicles. Some roads that remain open have been outfitted with special bridges that the crabs use to avoid traffic, and other roads are cleared by workers with rakes before the vehicles come through. Videos on the island capture massive numbers of crabs walking in tandem with pedestrians. Merry Crabsmas, Park Australia quipped in their Facebook post for the migrating animals, which is always cool. If you ever watch that on YouTube, it's actually pretty amazing. It really has. All right. Ripley's, believe it or not, is collecting human hair at a Florida expo in an attempt to set a Guinness World Record for the largest ball of human hair. Ripley said the ball of hair, dubbed Haas, was started by stylist Steve Warden and weighed in at 100 pounds in 2019. It says it's now over 1,000 pounds as people keep setting clippings for the hairball. Haas is being displayed at the International Association of Amusement Parks and Attractions Expo 2021 at the Orange County Convention Center in Orlando. All right, and we got time for one more story here because Shirky Poo keeps us loaded here. And let's go here. Real cool one. Buffy Bailey was anxious to get started. The nurse and her husband, Ian, were preparing to look for treasure on farmland in York, England. And they said, I just wanted to focus on detecting. So I turned my back to the footpath so walkers wouldn't talk to me. And just as I did, I got a signal in the exact spot. Expecting to find maybe a sheep's ear tag or something like that. No. How about a gold object shaped like a book, weighing less than an ounce, half an inch long, and made of 24-karat gold. Quite the treasure find. Thank you to Shirky Poo for the news. Thank you to everybody for tuning us in for Varla Ventura tonight. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAB, Revolution Radio, Spreaker, Facebook, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, say it with me, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we got room for them too. Good night. Howdy ho, people! How you doing? Howdy ho! Hold on, Shirky Poo's messaging me. Hold on. Nicely done tonight. Such a pro. Thank you, Captain Shirky Poo. Shirky Poo's news. Shirky Poo. Shirky Poo's news. We're going to have to create a theme song for her. Shirky, Shirky, Shirky Poo. Shirky Poo's news. Shirky Poo's news. That's what we're going to have to do. True there, Chad Smith. Yancy, how you doing? All right. Your thoughts on the thought of the Dave? Good, bad, indifferent? What do you think? Let me know. Thank you, Simon. Chris. Peppa H. Jules. Eddie. Thank you. Chad Smith. Laura. Thank you. There was wildfires, not right now. Any type of natural disaster. Thanks, DJ. Appreciate that. Thank you, Semper Fi Black Dragon, one of our great veterans who listens to this show. Skip to Malou. What's happening, buddy? Larry, I was talking about you today. Okay, so what we're doing, Larry, is we're actually going to build a second store because the store that we have right now, I can't pay for your shirt and then send it directly to you. So we're going to create it. We're going to be creating a second store, which will be able to, I'll be able to just type in your address and send it to you. So give me some time here. I know you've been extremely patient, but I have not forgot about you, bud. I have not forgot about you. You're on my mind every day. Robert Moore, what's happening? Right. Bring this down. All right, there we go. Give me 2 seconds, guys. How you doing down there, Doug Stevenson? All right, let's get to it here. Where was 3.5 million at one concert? That would be kind of cool. Laura, we haven't created that one. Probably could if you want. I don't really know if I want myself on a t-shirt, but I would do it if you were going to get it. I would do that. Rock and roll. Horns up. Okay, that's right, because we started late here. There we go. There we go. All right, there we go. There's number one. We're going to be changing up a lot of our swag. Going to make it more funky over the next couple of months. It's going to take a couple of months, but we're working on it. I think we may create a Shirky Poo t-shirt, which is a beehive hairdo. Yep. That'll be fun. I am a night owl. Dark Winter Wolf, how you doing? How's it going, Gong Show? Jules, it's funny you mentioned that in the chat room about the owl saying woo, because I was totally thinking about that today. And hi, Grant Tavius. How you doing, buddy? Good to come back. Kidnappings have happened.
It's freeze.
Yeah, I could have.
I feel like you
Who is going to be joining our team here very soon, along with others.
freeze from line that you walked, a line into a trance of any kind of fit.
Down,
It's like a mermaid wants you to
come back for aliens. That's what we're talking about tonight on Dave 101. My answer will be no.
I feel like you
So make sure.
I mean, one of the things that traditionally and specifically in like in Celtic myths.
That way. Sorry, guys. Hey, Lunar Eclipse, how you doing? Nice to have you here. There it is. Cut it off. Hey there, Doug Stevenson. You're snoring over there. Any other questions that you may have? Feel free to ask them. Or if you guys just want to keep chatting away while I'm working, you can do that too. Damn it, I did it again. I am vaping pineapple ice. There we go. Let's start it right there. Oh, that's not the start. That should be right there. Hey, Steam Train Mark, how you doing, buddy? Thank you for the update that I'm alive on this Friday evening. Appreciate that. My hair is all excited. Tomorrow is hair washing day. No problem, Spooky. Love having Varla on the show. She's just amazing and smart. Very talented individual. All right, Jules, we'll figure it out. Save. Hello, gorgeous Carol. How are you? What are you doing awake so late? I would have to agree here, Fapster. I'm willing to take this chance. D Swagger, I thought you were going to bed. Oh, gorgeous Carol's like, I don't sleep. I don't sleep. But look at me, I'm here. Okay, who is Cassie? I keep seeing Cassie. Who is Cassie? And who is Mary? Everybody's saying hi, Mary, and hi, Cassie. Who's Cassie and who's Mary? I don't understand. Help me out here. I don't understand. All right, I'll be right back. I just gotta go to the bathroom. Hi, Doug Stevenson. All right. I am back. Zed's dead. Welcome to our channel. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Hold on. Now I got to figure out because I walked away. Lunar is Mary. So who is Cassie? Oh, Oracles and Beyond is Cassie. I did not know that. Carol's having some bathroom problems. For everybody, a listener out there, stay out of her bathroom if you're not going to replace the toilet paper. She's getting pissed off about that. I want to ask you guys a question. For those of you who are in my Spaced Out or our Spaced Out Radio group, okay, on Facebook, I'm curious. Please put in our chat room whether or not you're part of our Spaced Out Radio group on Facebook first. Then I'll tell you my conundrum that I'm curious to get your opinion on. As I quickly do some editing here. All right, that's working. Give me 2 seconds here. All right. Okay. So here's my question to you guys. All right. For those who are in our group, every day I get posts from that I have to approve in order, or Gail has to approve in order to get them in there. And I get a lot of people who are posting their YouTube shows or their podcasts or conferences in our group. Now, our group isn't that big. It's only about 2,700 people. Okay. But a lot of times my thinking of it has always been if somebody from my team is not invited to participate in your conference or you're not paying us to advertise your conference, you can't advertise your conference in our room. And same goes with other podcasts or YouTube channels, that if you are not working in conjunction with Spaced Out Radio, much like Thomas Fessler or UFO Garage or Paranormal Chop Shop or Chad Smith's, okay, that I do not allow those posts in our room either. And every day I am probably eliminating anywhere from 3 to 10 posts a day because of that. So I'm curious if you guys think that I'm being too hard, that you want that information in there, or you think I'm doing it right because I don't want shows that I don't approve of, or people that I don't know posting in our room when I don't know what their content is, and basically all they're trying to do is steal our Spaced Out Radio audience members. So I'm curious what you guys think. Let's see. Dark says, that's how Music Maker Jammers group is on Facebook. People are literally posting stuff not related to it. Lunar Mary says, they should read the rules of the group. If you have it in there that you don't want posted, then you should not post there unless given permission. Good. Carol, though it's your group, you make it what you want. Jules says it's completely fine. Braswell, keep your integrity. You are on the correct path. Hi, Awesome Ann Palmer. I think people should ask permission first. Larry, we didn't round them up and kill them. Mondak, you are on the correct track. I know if my Facebook group ever got big like yours, I wouldn't allow it. Mondak, we still got to get you on the show to talk about some of your monster research. We do. Ange, up to you, Dave. Do what you want. Marie, nope, you're right. No question about it. I'd wait until people complain. There's plenty of interest crossover, but if someone is blatantly spamming, that's another issue. Well, here's my point, Chris. And I kind of consider you kind of in our group, okay? Like, I would have no problem with you posting in there because literally you're in our room almost every night. And I don't mind plugging people who are supporting us. I really don't. Whether you're supporting us through mentions on your show, whether you're in our chat room every night, whether you are, kind of affiliated with us, I wouldn't mind. I have no problem with that. Example, I talk to John Greenwald behind the scenes every now and again. I post his stuff. No problem with that. I have no problem with Merle, okay, posting his stuff in there. And so I guess what I'm saying is when I see a lot of podcasts that I've never heard of, I'm like, well, I don't know who you are. I don't know what your message is. I don't know what your topics are, what you sound like, because I don't have time to check them out. And I feel like all they're doing is posting in there, maybe some are doing it just to advertise, hey, we got this out, take a listen if you want. But there are some out there that will be like, hey, we're trying to attract your audience. Right? And that may sound a little callous, but I'm just curious. Black Dragon says you're doing it right. Jules says you don't even know what people are posting if you don't preview it, if they aren't trusted already. Simon, I think if you have watched and can vouch for the show, I trust your judgment. Extremely rare that I watch anything related to this subject that hasn't passed over your channel. Thank you, Simon. Appreciate that. Jessica, it's not professional to use your platform. Well, and that's kind of my thinking too. All right. So I end up really kicking a lot of posts out. Conferences, for instance, what amazes me is not right now, but previously, I would get people trying to post their conferences in our room probably once, twice a week, if not more. Hey, Phaeton on Twitch, how you doing? Steven Sturgill, how you doing, buddy? No, we're live. Laura says, I didn't think it was a big deal until you said that you didn't know what their content is. It being posted in your group is part of a reflection of you, so I wouldn't want it either. Yeah, see, that's my thinking right there, right? Lunar says, I have a group page. I don't allow some stuff they can post, but not overpost. I am paranormal cryptids to abilities. It's all good as long as they are straight, legitimate, haven't run across much negative. That's cool. Yeah, I'm not the whole Discord thing. Everybody's trying to push me towards Discord. I hate Discord. I do. Gorgeous Gene Bennett, how are you? As long as they don't have a show of their own, no stealing audience. I like to post links, but that's just spreading info. No, I don't mind links. There are certain links I don't allow. For instance, like when I'm reviewing them, if I see an article, like there was one tonight that I was reviewing, and it was written by a fake journalist who calls himself a journalist, but he's never worked a day in journalism. I don't allow that type of stuff. But most types of links, I will allow. It's more so for conferences who haven't invited anybody from our team to participate, and they haven't asked us, and they aren't paying us for advertisement. And, well, tonight I eliminated 4 different YouTube channels on it. Yeah, we will never go on Discord, this channel. I absolutely hate it. Not a fan of it at all. Thurston Howell III. Well, you shouldn't have been lurking in the first place. You should have been here there, gorgeous Gene Beckett. By the way, happy birthday to Kurt Hammett from Metallica. If you get a chance to go outside right now, because we're going to be ending this shortly, if it is clear where you are, make sure you go check out the eclipse that's going on. Braslov, I hate Instagram. I can't stand Instagram either. I don't understand the purpose of Instagram. TikTok, I like watching it. I'm nervous about making videos. I put a video on there today. So if you haven't tried our TikTok, it's at Spaced Out Radio. We'd appreciate the thumbs up and the follow. That would be kind of cool. So we have, right now, we have a whopping 39 followers. 39. I agree. Discord sucks. All right. Tomorrow night on the show, where are we here? Debbie Felton is going to join us. We're talking serial killers of ancient times. Serial killers of ancient times. And then on the weekend, we have Miss Ada talking hoodoo magic with Lynn. And then Sunday, Craig Campabasso. And yeah, we're going to have a good time here heading into the weekend. And kind of go from there. So thank you so much to Dirt Road Times 2, Chris, Spooky, and Rex for the awesome super chats tonight. Remember, the super chat always is a good way to support this show. And even in archive, you can super chat us. We do appreciate the love and support. And don't forget, you can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. That's brand new. We'd love the support, the thumbs up, and the subscribe. And check out we only got 3 videos here. We're building it. We're totally building it. So give us a support there. If you don't mind, you can do some shopping on our website by going to shop. And it's right there. We got all sorts of cool swag for you. And Derek, what's happening, man? Thank you for coming on in late as we start to wrap this up. Big thank you to all the veterans out there who tuned us in tonight. You always have a safe home here in our chat room. And what else can we say? The regulars, you guys were amazing tonight. Absolutely amazing. I know I forgot this last night. I will play it tonight. Have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow night, guys.